Yeah. Okay, we're going to call this meeting to order, please. For roll call, we have one, Dr. Ball will be out today, and here comes Mr. Strove, so we have 6 present, 1 absent. Any public comments about closed session items? Okay, let's adjourn to closed session then. computer set up. All right, well, everybody is here, so would you rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? Salute, pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, for closed session, we have no action to report. We are ready to start the study session. At the conclusion, so what's up first on our study sessions?
Yeah, thank you, board. Thank you for everyone coming to participate.
I think you're on, Mr. Young.
I am trying. Michael? How about now?
You are good.
Yeah, Mr. Knackstead, members of the board, Dr. Horton is excited to share with you just some significant information that is specific to the College Career Indicator. He has invited a distinguished group of people to sit around the table with you today as part of this study session who will be sharing information. The way we've got things set up is each person will be sharing a portion of it, and then you as a board at the end of each little subsection of the report, if you need clarification, if there's specific questions of that person you want to ask, feel free to do so. That won't be our deliberation discussion. That will occur at the end of what is shared by everyone here. We will also have a time for people from the public who would like to make comment, as we would any meeting as well, but that won't occur until the end of the actual study session report being provided to you. But during that report, if you have questions you want to ask for clarification's sake of each person, that doesn't need to be held till the end, but then the discussion portion for you as a board will occur after public comment, and then we can discuss potential next steps, how you want to proceed. Obviously, no action is taken at a study session. This is really just to inform and enlighten and just get a deeper understanding of a very complex indicator, but has great implications for us as we look at always improving as a school district and supporting our students. So with that, I will turn it over to Dr. David Horton, and he will take it from here, and I will say nothing.
All right, so Board President Knackstead, members of the board, pleasure to be here. I have with me a cast of distinguished panelists that are the experts from across the school district, and they're here by invitation because of the different expertise that they hold. And so as we go through, we'll come to each little section. I will have them each stop and they can introduce themselves and tell you which school site and what they represent. And then they have a quick presentation because of their expertise. As we move from section to section, that's where I'll stop and ask if there are questions. So that you'll have a chance to kind of process what it is that they share. And if you have any questions or if there's any follow-up needed, they are the people that we can ask, that is for sure. So if we can move along to the next slide. So here are our folks, and you can go to the next one with the bus. Okay, so the first thing I want to point out to the board is this, that the item that we're talking about tonight is the College Career Indicator that is on the California Department of Education dashboard. It's one of the major accountability pieces that California uses in looking at school districts across the state. And it's one of those indicators or rates that we are held accountable to have more and more students be college career ready when they exit the K-12 systems. So the reason I have our little picture up here of the bus and these car parts or bus parts is for a particular reason. I want you to kind of join me in this story for just a second and think about the conundrum that we have in educational services and across districts, not just in Lodi, but around the state. And that is, very often, school districts spend an awful lot of time and money buying lots and lots of parts for the bus. They buy a shiny new transmission, a really neat steering wheel, they might have really new brakes, all these kinds of things, and of course it's all metaphorical, right? So in having all of those great things, it isn't to say that those parts aren't really important
But until you put the whole bus together and the bus can travel down the road, what do you have? You have a lot of parts. They're all really neat. They're all really fun. They all can do interesting things. But until you put it together and create the bus, where have you gone? And really the journey that we are on in education is when students leave our K-12 system, where are they going? What can they do? What do they have in their back pocket when they leave our system that they're ready for life beyond our K-12 system? Hence the College Career Indicator. One of the major pieces that the state looks at is to, impose on us to say it is crucial that K-12 systems prepare their students for life beyond high school. What are we preparing them to do? So two of the things that we can look at would be, are you career ready or are you college ready? You could be both. But if you think of it this way, one of the things we really can't say to our parents would be that it would be okay that you're neither. That's not an acceptable outcome, to say that we've sent you through our K-12 system, 13 years plus of education, and you exit with a diploma but nothing else. That's a difficult thing to look someone in the eye and say that that would be okay. So the idea that we want to paint for you is that putting the whole bus together is where we see our work in educational services and across the district, that using the board and all of the leverage that you all have to get behind the things that are so important to say, this is where we could go and take more and more of our students. Is that something that we find interesting? So the proposition for you all would be, is that something you want to be and get behind? So next slide, please. All right, so the College Career Indicator, as you can see on there, and I won't read the slide to you, I know that you all can read. So one of the most important pieces about this College Career Indicator is that it is a measurement of readiness. When students leave our system, there are a variety of ways that they can reach and meet the College Career Indicator. So the real question for us as a system is, are they? Are they reaching that? Are they meeting that? And how many students are reaching that and meeting that, whether it's on the career side or the college side, which also means there's a group of students that kind of are in the middle that may be neither. They neither completed the college side, nor did they complete the career side. So what we're wanting to really focus on is, how do we eliminate that middle ground and have students complete one or the other or both of those major indicators? All right, next slide. So I'm going to turn it over to Uwe. He'll introduce himself, and we're going to talk a little bit about the College Career Indicator, where we are in Lodi Unified and where we are compared to some of our neighboring districts and across the state.
Thank you, Dr. Horton. Uwe Dahman, Coordinator of Assessment Research and Evaluation. So here we have the data for Lodi Unified. These are the metrics. The very first bar that you see in the green on the far left, that is percentage of our graduating students, graduate cohort in 2023, who were deemed prepared under the CCI or the College Career Indicator. So all of the other metrics to the right, those are all the individual metrics that are used to determine whether or not a student is prepared. So you have a variety of different things happening here: CTE pathway completion, smarter balance assessments, college credit courses, advanced placement, and so on. Some of these will automatically qualify the student as being prepared. Some of them require additional elements. So the bars that are in the slanted are those that require additional elements. And my apologies, but we should have also marked the state seal of biliteracy and also the military science. Those two should also be slanted as well. So these are metrics in which require additional qualifications in order to be prepared. Also, it's important to bear in mind the students are not unique, so the student can be in more than one category. So those numbers to the right, they do not add up to 628. So a student can be in more than one category. Next slide, please. So here we've grabbed some of the more common metrics that are in CCI, and we've combined those with, or we're comparing what we would call like districts. We use that term loosely. Like could be, for instance, just the size of the district or the percentage of socioeconomically disadvantaged students or percentage of ELs, but we're just kind of looking for similar districts to see how we were doing to kind of give some relevancy. And so again, those first set of bars on the far left, those are percentage of students who are prepared at each of the districts that we have below. And then we're using some of the more common metrics, the elements of the CCI to show you the numbers of students and percentage of students who are meeting each one of these individual metrics. So CT pathway, Smarter Balance, college credit courses, advanced placement, the A through G, and state seal by literacy. Next slide, please. So here we're kind of using, doing the exact same thing, only these districts are the neighboring. So we're comparing ourselves here to neighboring districts. So Stockton Unified, Lincoln High, and Galt Joint Union.
Very good. Next slide. Okay. Any questions on that brief data overview about where we are in context with some of our neighboring districts when we look at this broad overview of college career indicator? Sure, jump on it.
Okay. First of all, let's go back to slide.
Microphone, please.
Oh, that's right. Nice catch. Love those AP classes. I guess I'm going to come out of the box here a little bit. First of all, welcome for all of you to be here. Take time away from your families and friends and spend an evening, and you got to go back to work tomorrow. I really appreciate all that. I think we can all agree, I know the board does, I'm speaking for myself solely though, but student achievement is what we're here for. All the other things, as you saw with the bus, I like to think of it as a puzzle, where all the pieces have to come together to make up the whole thing, which is student achievement. And the kids that are leaving have completed the puzzle and have passed all the rigor that's necessary to go on and either be career ready or moving on to CSU or UCs. Now, I did a little research on some of those scores. In 2018, our college career ready was 39%. And if you take a look at our college career ready today, it's 31.4. So we've gone down since 2018. Also, what's left out here is when they do the college career readiness, they have a percentage proposal or percentage that are prepared, and then they have a percentage that's approaching being prepared, and then they have a percentage that's not prepared. So there's there's three parts to that, and we're not seeing it in these graphs. Okay. And then the overall thing, of course, I think, is we have to get a look at the A through G, because without that, all these other things don't matter. If you're not getting your A through G requirement, you can meet all these little other subparts and still not meet the college career pathway. The interesting thing about, in 2017, this is when it started, the CCI. The data then is not available because it's being audited, from what I could read. And in 2019, we slipped down to 35.6. But let me read you some of these data. So we had 39% that were percentage prepared. We had 22% in 2018, 22% that were approaching prepared, and 38.6 not prepared. 2019 was 35.6, then 25.2 percentage approaching prepared, 39.2 not prepared. And then in 2020, it's 36.6. I believe it was 24 percentage approaching prepared, 39.3 that were not prepared. Now, 2023, we're at 31.4% prepared, 25.7 close to being prepared, 43% not prepared. So since 2018, when they really were collecting the data, 20 and 21 and 22, the pandemic was there, things were screwed up, they couldn't really get good data. We have gone the other way. So as far as student achievement, we here tonight, especially this board, have to look at what we can do to reverse the trend. Because in 7 years, you've gone down 7 points. And you've also increased students that are not prepared by around 6 to 7%. 43% of our students, almost half, are not prepared. That's not good if you're trying to talk to businesses or schools or so forth. So that's one little nugget that has not been shown to us that we need to talk about. Why is that happening? Now, I know that we're going to talk about limitations and so forth and so on, but I wanted to set the table a little bit about what we're looking at here. We are declining as a school district. Also in 2018, we were at 28,000 students, and now we're about 26, 27. So we have declined significantly. So there's good stuff in there when you want to go to the dashboard and look around. I spent way too many days in that stuff, but I do think when you look at these numbers here, and you look at, for example, the comparison to local schools, when they get into GALT, I believe it's slide 6, 7. And you look at the UC CSU, you'll notice that we are not doing well compared to our neighboring school districts. The other thing you have to notice is when you look at Stockton, for example, they have almost 2,000 students that are homeless. We have about 200. So when you start comparing schools, you got to realize they're also dealing with some social economic issues that maybe we're not facing. So again, those are some things to think about, and I know that a lot of you already have. So that was my little backstory on the CCI, which I found very, very fascinating. You might not agree with it, all the metrics that are involved, but it's what we're playing by, and it's what people look at. So hopefully tonight we will come out with solutions or pieces that we could try to fill the puzzle to increase student success. That's what we want to do this evening, I hope. And I know that we have a lot of expertise here that can help us do that, but we have to solve the problem of student achievement. We are declining. It's a fact. And the previous administration, this administration is highlighting it, which is great, because we really need to look at it. Because we all want our students to be 80%, 90% on the CCI. That's where we'd like to be, right? So that's my 2 cents so far on those 2 slides. A little background information for you. Bouvet's done a great job. I kind of a little deeper dive and just did that. I have more, of course, so I'll bring it up at that time. Thank you.
Perfect. Well, Mr. Porter, I would definitely say this. You couldn't have teed it up more nicely for us. That is precisely why we are here. I almost wish we had put a chair over here and you could have been one of our panelists. That's exactly what we're looking to do, is to tell where we are, but also talk about what we're doing about it and what we want the board to get behind it with us to do. Clearly, there's a lot of work to do inside that. It's not acceptable where we are, but we see a lot of opportunity where we are to go. So it's time to get on the rocket ship and go. And that's what we want to paint the picture to the board and say, which of these areas do we want to grab a hold of first and start making it happen. So I appreciate you leading us right into that. Other questions from the board so far on the data points? Okay, wonderful. All right, so let's talk about, of the 2 sides of the coin then, there's the college side, there's the career side. Let's go into the college side first. So next slide, please. So in the college indicator, these are the metric areas or the sub areas that we look at that students can meet to be college ready. There's the Smarter Balanced Summative Assessments, Advanced Placement Exams, International Baccalaureate, which we do not have in Lodi Unified, college credit courses, State Seal by Literacy, UC, and CSU A through G requirements. One of the things I put in there for the color coding that's interesting is in the CCI, the College Career Indicator, the light blue with the single asterisk, those areas require more than one indicator for a student to be college ready. So it requires more than one moving part. So there are 2 levers for it to be met. And like I mentioned in the light green, the IB, we do not have that in Lodi Unified. So as we go through, our expert panelists will give you a little bit of background about how each of these things move and why they move that way. All right, next slide, please. So let's start in the first area. We're going to look at Smarter Balanced Assessments, Math, and ELA. This is the test that all 11th grade students take. So if students score a 3 or higher on both ELA or Math, they are college ready. But if they do not score a 3 in one or the other area, they are not college ready, according to the metric. So it's 3 or better or not at all, and they don't meet it. So next slide, please. And I think this is
So we presented this data last time. Now that the information was embargoed, so we were not able to provide the information on the state and county. So this is for all the students who took the exam for the English language arts portion. These are all the students who got a score of 3 or higher.
And next slide.
And then we have the same information here for math. So again, these are the students who scored, all of the students who took CAS, who scored a 3 or higher.
Very good, and next slide. So are there any questions on the data points of the Smarter Balanced Assessments for grade 11? One thing, as you can imagine, as you ponder that data, is that that's not something that happens overnight. So this is a composite of what students were gathering and learning along the way before they got to grade 11. So in other words, to make that metric move, we have to do some things much earlier than grade 11 to have students be prepared to take that exam and pass it, because it doesn't happen. It's not a grade 11 problem. It's actually something that happened many years prior. Okay, and next slide. All right, so to address that, one of our panelists, I'm going to have Abby Bates from Bear Creek, the math department, talk a little bit about what we're already starting to work on and have been working on to focus on how do we build math with students much earlier than grade 11 so that when they get there, they're ready to do that work and can do it successfully. So.
Good evening, President Knackstead and members of the board and Superintendent Young. Thank you guys for having me tonight. My name is Abby Bates and I am here representing the Bear Creek Math Department. My colleague Eric was unable to make it tonight, but we put this together for you. So at Bear Creek, we've been doing a lot of work in the math department, especially over the last 4 years, specifically focusing on some of the areas that Dr. Horton has mentioned. So 2 of those specifically are 21st century skills and engagement in math classrooms. And also the Measuring Student Learning Project, which is MSLP. You may have heard it called that before. So those are the things we've been working on. And you'll see here in these pictures, these are pictures of some of our students. We've been using some philosophy from the research from Dr. Peter Liljedahl, who wrote the book Building Thinking Classrooms and has published papers on this research, and not just getting the kids to like mimic what we're doing, but actually thinking and problem solving and developing those 21st century skills. So you can see in these pictures the kids are working together, they're looking around, they're getting help, they're using notes. And if you flip to the next slide, please. You can see here, we also have been working really hard to build notes that are scaffolded, but not spoon-fed, shall we say. We're really trying to get kids to think for themselves. So you'll see there's like some fill in the blank, but it's structured so that they're scaffolding up and then they try one on their own. Sometimes we even have the students do these notes in groups. And then down below, you'll see we've also been trying to incorporate a lot more choice and addressing students where they're at. So I might give these, as we call them, mild, medium, and spicy problems to students, and they can pick where they want to start for their individual practice time, and then they work their way up, right? It's a lot more motivating for them to see a problem they feel capable of solving and then working their way up to higher levels. So this is one way we've been working on developing problem solving, right? Collaboration, working with each other, all those kinds of skills that they're gonna need no matter what career or college pathway they go on. And then if you go to the next slide, we have also been working on the Measuring Student Learning Project, as I mentioned. And so this has been done in collaboration with the district to focus on like how are we showing students progress. And so you can see that top box there is what we have hacked Aries, for a better lack of words. I don't have a better phrase for that. But we've kind of restructured Aries since it's not standards-based per se, but we want the communication to be clear to parents what actually is happening. What are students learning? What are they supposed to know? So instead of saying, you know, quiz 1, 60%, this is now what they see in Aries. They can see using function notation, domain and range. They can see exactly what they're doing, and I think it's very, you would agree with me here, it's very clear what the student particularly needs to work on, right? And where they're doing okay and where they're doing well. And so we have been working on that the last few years, and this year we have expanded to other subject areas besides math. And so I'm sure Dr. Horton will share more about that later. And then down at the bottom, that table down there, that is our number of sections of each math course that has been offered over the last 4 years. And you'll notice our high school math class, which is below grade level, right, below 9th grade level, it's a 8th grade equivalent class. We had 17 sections of high school math, 8th grade level math after the pandemic, and this year we have 3. And I am very proud of that work that we've been doing. And you can see that has also increased our sections of IM1, IM2, and IM3 over the last number of years, which will also help our college indicator because we're getting more kids into A through G classes, right? And so that's kind of where we've been working at. Well, actually, Dr. Wright, I have one more thing to say.
Yeah, well, there's even one more slide for you. Anyway.
Oh, yeah.
There it is.
Yeah, sorry. And so limitations, and this is what I forgot to add on. So one is like finding time to work regularly together as a department and finding time for PD, because as you know, like we're working hard in our classrooms already, and many of us are staying after school. So we're already very tired. So it's hard to like, go to more things. So finding more time for that is great. Another limitation that I forgot to add on here, but another limitation is that the district only requires 2 years of math in high school to graduate. And sometimes those math classes are high school math and consumer math, none of which are A through G courses. And so that also hurts our students' preparedness for the SBAC, and it also hurts their A through G indicator as well. So just another thing to think about, what courses we want students to be enrolling in.
Excuse me, repeat the courses. You mentioned the consumer math. What's before that?
So right now the board has the graduation requirement for math as students are only required to complete 2 years of math courses. And it doesn't specify what courses those are particularly, except one has to be high school math or math 1. And so some students will only take high school math and pass that, and then they'll take like a consumer math or some other course, and neither of those courses is an A through G course, so they don't count towards this indicator. Math 1 is the one that fulfills the algebra requirement for the state of California, but if we get more kids taking Math 2 and Math 3, that will also help our A through G completion
How do you
rate.
get that? You said more. I mean, what percentage of these kids in consumer math and below that don't count for the college, what percentage of those people are there?
That's a great question. I don't know if we have those numbers off the top of our heads.
I don't know that we have that, but to say it back to you another way, if students are in that non-UC A through G bearing class in math, you've got multiple problems that are going to be coming down the road with that. One, obviously they won't be UC A through G ready in the math category. The other issue is there's no incentive for them to come back around and take the math classes that would make them UC A through G ready. The other piece that is likely to come our way that we'll bring back to the board as a proposal would be, as we continue to study the graduation requirements of Lodi Unified compared to where the state is, compared to where UC A through G puts their emphasis, I don't know if this surprises you or not, but we're not necessarily aligned. There's not an alignment between what's being asked in one place, what's being asked in another, and then what we're asking locally. And I think there are some opportunities there for us to clean that up and tighten it to make us a little bit more in line for future success, so that it's on track with graduation, but it's also featuring what it takes to be UC A through G ready and to help students be successful when it comes to college career indicator at the same time.
And this
So what you're telling me is that all 4 high schools that we have, comprehensive high schools, don't have the same curriculums in math?
No, they may have the same curriculum, but what it is an expectation.
requirements.
Correct. The requirements are not in alignment with what the UC system will want, but also the total number of units for graduation is skewed. So we're heavy in one area, light in another. And what I'm saying is we need to come into where we're in alignment.
And also on the SBAC, right? So our state test that we give, the CASP, the test that the juniors take has topics from Math 1, Math 2, and Math 3. So if students are only taking high school math and Math 1, that's 2/3 of the material that they've never even seen before and then are tested on it. So So the more students we can get taking higher level math courses, also the higher our SBAC scores will be. So just another indicator. So just things to think about.
Mr. Nava, can I piggyback on that with Ren here, who is a guidance counselor who has worked at a comprehensive high school for quite some time. Where are we seeing students who are choosing to take courses such as high school math and consumer math to check off the math box, but limiting opportunities? Where are you seeing that pop up at a comprehensive high school level?
It would be in the 9th grade, where the recommendation year, it's in the 9th grade when they're, the district sets where they are, they place them in math based upon a set of scores. And then from there, if they're not ready, then if they're failing integrated math 1, they can go to summer school to retake the class, or they are placed in high school math. And then from there, consumer math, or possibly if they did okay in integrated 1 in the past, we were able to put them into personal finance.
I have a question, Mr. Rand. Some of these kids that are not ready, they don't know how to read or do math. So what do you do with those kids?
Well, what Abby is saying is really happening, and it's truly amazing to see that the kids that, we've been pins and needles because we only have 3 sections of high school math this year. And now we have a whole bunch of integrated math students that were not recommended, or they were in between, and we're seeing what they're doing. It's really great to see because we were looking at the first quarter grades, and there's been a lot of changes because if they don't get it the first time, it's going to come back and they're getting retaught. So we're kind of starting over with these students and giving them a chance in a college level class that they can feel good. In high school math, it's a variety of kids. Kids haven't gone to school, kids that are special ed, and so in an environment that may not invite that kind of picture. I mean, I've walked in many times in the math classes, and they're doing that. And I'm looking at the kids like, oh my God, I would never picture this, but it is happening. And I invite you to come and see what's happening. Parents are saying, well, the teacher's not teaching. I said, well, you got to understand what they're doing. They're asking kids to be able to explain it to their peers so that they can increase their understanding of it. So it's like I'm feeling like it's happening. So
do you feel that you have these students that previously coming into the high school, are they prepared for math, for your math?
no, not at all.
Then how do we prepare them? It's a difficult task.
It's
to do
really difficult. Okay,
I can probably jump in on that part. So that actually will lead me to the next slide. So hit that next.
I have a question.
Okay.
What is your last name? I'm sorry, I can't
Bates.
see it. Bates? Okay, is it Miss Bates? Is that okay? Yeah, I don't want to go by first name.
Microphone.
Oh, moved it away. I have 2 questions for you,
Yeah.
and I think we'll be able to answer or get to Mr. Nava's, hopefully Nava's question. I know where he's headed later when we talk about extra periods and interventions. First of all, I want to talk about your rubric on how you grade. Do you work, is that cohesive amongst all your peers?
So, we started with the Math 1 team 3 years ago. Yeah, 3 years ago. Our Math 1 team started, and we had kind of already been doing a little bit of work, and then the MSLP project came along, and so we had been working together. So Math 1, there are, I think, seven of us. Last year I was on that team, this year I'm not doing it, but last year there were 7 of us on the Math 1 team. All of the Math 1 teachers were using the rubric grading 1 through 4 and reporting out progress based on learning targets instead of
So if I'm taking any class, if I'm taking a math class, the percentage of grade will be the same in each class for each assignment, will be the same?
Yes, based off of the learning target. So we're not.
So like, for example, you say using function notation.
Mhm.
That's 5% of a grade.
Oh, yes.
That
Yes,
would be
we have
the
weighted
same
them the
across.
same. Yeah, and the weighting is just, we decided as a PLC about the weighting so that we could weight the topics we felt were most important for
So
that
a B in your
course.
class would be a B in anybody else's class?
Yep.
Outstanding, that's what we need. Now, have you shared that with other schools, or is it just strictly tribal?
No, that's what we've been working on through the MSLP project, is working across campuses. So I think most of the comprehensive high schools have been attending that.
It's a
And been
horizontal
for
thing that
math.
we're doing,
I'm
or
sorry?
is it a lateral thing that we're doing with all schools?
Vertical and horizontal.
Vertical.
Vertical with the lower
Yeah.
levels?
Middle schools
Okay,
as well.
all right.
So at Bear Creek, I think we're the farthest just because we had kind of started on our own anyway, but the other schools I know are making progress as well, the other high schools in math. And so we've done it the last couple of years. So we now have integrated math 1, 2, and 3 are all doing this type of grading and reporting.
And then you're articulating this with the middle school?
They have been attending the MSLP as well. And
Okay,
so that's a
great.
work in progress.
Yeah, that's a start,
Yes,
that's good.
yes.
Now, I noticed that you had 49 sections in 2021-22, and now you're up to 46 sections, you dropped down to 44 in between. Has class size gone up?
I'm trying to think about average.
Because you've lost 5 sections between 21 and 22 to now where you are 24, 25.
Yeah, we had a lot of drop off. Well, the 21-22 is after the pandemic year, so it's really hard to base anything of, like, the data from that year is difficult because the kids
Well, no,
come
you had 49 sections.
Right, and then kids don't have, but kids aren't required to take more than 2 years of math, and so I think after the pandemic, a lot of kids were like,
Okay,
oh, I took my 2 years.
I was just
You know,
curious.
so, yeah,
Thank you.
so we've been seeing more.
all right, thank you very much.
Very good. So one of the pieces, as was just mentioned, is as we kind of study this situation and we think about it, I think you can see that the focus has to be well beyond or working down from high school. You can't just work on this as a grade 9, 10 issue. This is going to be a grade 5 through 10 issue to articulate it. So as we look at the work in front of us in this area, it has to be how do you get 5 through 10 all rowing in the same direction and all thinking about this in the same way to get into a deeper space about how math education is happening, how they are learning that, and then how they're prepared, and then they can show it when they get to 11th grade. So realigning some of the board policies with graduation requirement is only one of those things, and in some ways I guess you would say it's cosmetic. What we really have to do is get into and talk about what's the instruction, the learning, and supporting our teachers with what they're able to do in the classroom to get those students where they need to be. From the previous board meeting, what you see on the screen is what we were talking about leaning into the research and the science from Visible Learning by John Hattie. And in particular, that up at 12 o'clock on that where it says clarity, focusing on clarity is where we're already underway. We're now working on that as a district, K-12, and we're focusing on it where every school will have a teacher that is able to start doing this and thinking about how clarity works from their world into the student world. Already talking with teachers like Abby over at Bear Creek and have had some preliminary work with them already, it dovetails so nicely into the efforts that they've already been putting in, is tying it all together so that we look at things like MSLP, we look at the building thinking classroom, and we think about how the science and clarity all comes together. So you can imagine a very exciting piece for us will be when you can paint that picture from grades 5 all the way to 10 in math so that you're building stronger math students before they even arrive at grade 9. Because if you wait for it to happen at grade 9, as Abby's seen and as she knows, it's too late. You already have students that are self-selected and they're not going to be college career ready. So we have to start this train much earlier in the sequence. All right. Next up is going to be advanced placement exams. To meet the college career ready on this, a student has to score a 3 or higher on 2 AP exams. So if you think about what will it take to get more students in the pipeline to be able to take 2 exams and pass with a 3 or better, not just 1, but 2. So with that, first we'll turn over to Uwe and we'll look at a little bit of the macro data.
So this is a review of the information we provided last time, but we did, the request was to add the numbers. So we just had percentages last time. We've added those numbers. Again, real quick review, the blue bars refer to the percentages of students who earn a C- or higher in their AP course. And then the gray bar are the percentage of those students who take the exam, the AP exams, and then the orange bars are the percentage of students who earn a 3 or higher in at least one AP course. So Again, just reviewing the AP information, and wanted to provide those numbers as was requested last time. Next slide. In the previous slide, it was we were looking at all of the comprehensive sites plus the socioeconomically disadvantaged group. Here, we're looking at all students and over longitudinal. So again, providing those numbers that we had last time with this data, and you can show the progression of the trending downwards starting after 2019, and then the upward trend going into the current year.
Very good. So first I'll have Sarah introduce herself and then Beth, and both of them are going to talk a little bit about the AP exams from two different perspectives.
Okay, hello. My name is Sarah Bass here. I'm the VP over at Lodi High School. So thank you for having me. My job here today is to just give a brief overview of AP exams and what that entails. So I'll just hop right in. I know you can see the numbers there. We currently administer exams to students who choose to take the exams. No one is required to do so. So when we're looking at our passage rate of the students and seeing that 68.4 passage rate for last year, it's important to note, again, those are the students who are choosing to take those exams. There are 38 AP exams that are available to students in our district. We gave 29 of those 38 last year. Not all schools gave the same exams. The majority are the same across the 4 comprehensives, but not all. So students can take the exams whether or not they're enrolled in those particular courses. So if a student wanted to take an exam, a physics exam, and they're not offered that course, they could take it at their home school. Most students prefer to take a class, not just take the exam. So we do offer that when pandemic hit. We started sharing students almost doing a dual enrollment, so that students, if they were able to self-transport, and if the schedules meshed with neighboring schools, students could transport to another school, take that course, and then come back to their home school. We have very few students who were able to access that, and it's been dwindling each year. So Lodi and Tokay, I know, for example, we did share a few students for a couple of years. Moving on to Action 3, in addition to the college-like experience and the potential of getting those college credits when you take and pass the AP exam, or when you take an AP course, obviously you're taking a course on a 5-point scale as opposed to a 4-point scale, so those are some of the incentives to taking an AP course, not necessarily needing to take the AP exam. So teachers do offer that incentive if they so choose, obviously not something that's mandated, but if they so choose. If a student scores well enough, according to that teacher standard, they also can adjust their students' grades, and those are things that are lined out in the syllabus, but that's a case-by-case basis. So sort of the overview. Indicator areas to growth. It is an expensive test. It is $99 to take the exam. It is $20 if you qualify for free or reduced. And keeping in mind our data confirmations, roughly most of our high schools here, between 48 and 52% of our families complete that data confirmation. So most of our students are paying the $99 per exam. Also, not all colleges will accept the AP scoring, or the AP scores. So most students, I will be honest, that's not much of a limiting factor, but it does come into play if we have students who are planning to attend some of those courses, they won't take the exam. Also, just of note, we have 4 comprehensive high schools. Obviously with our additional high schools, everyone uses the same transcript, which when a student exits high school, what are they carrying with them and what are they coming for 20 years down the road if they need proof of high school graduation? It's that one piece of paper. As of right now, only one of the 4 comprehensive high schools puts the passing AP scores on their transcript. So looking at some norming processes across our district would be something that would be beneficial. I will pass it over to Beth for the second part of the AP.
Thank you. It's Beth Ofterman from Lodi High School, and I was asked to speak specifically on the AP program at Lodi High School. Some of the data points in front of you that although we had 714 exams taken in 2003, with a successful pass rate of 62%. The fee, we do assist students at Lodi High School with a fundraiser that can help them cover the additional costs, and that is open for anybody that would like to participate. And that has benefited hundreds of students since we initiated it several years ago. We still, though, had, out of our students who enrolled in multiple AP courses, 150 exams that were untaken. So that means a student might have had 5 AP classes and chose to take only 3. Or maybe they took an AP course to challenge themselves, but then decided not to take the exam. And because it's not simply enrolling in the class, but passing 2 AP exams to meet the CCI indicator, we would want to increase that number of participation and support for that student, for them to follow that through all the way instead of just taking the course. Limitations to grow in this indicator. We know that upcoming state requirements for graduation are changing with the implementation of ethnic studies. Might possibly impact enrollment in AP Human Geo, which is primarily a 9th grade AP course. And we, at Lodi High School, we have a pretty high success rate amongst our freshmen. It's a great introductory course as a pathway to all AP courses. It's the only course a freshman can take. So there is a concern. While we know we want to offer ethnic studies, it's a wonderful course, we are concerned that that might impact our numbers and our participation. Secondarily, with recent legislation with with financial literacy, in current state legislation, it states that the financial literacy course can replace an economics course. So a student that needs to take a financial literacy course to graduate might choose to substitute their AP economics course for this financial literacy. And so this is one of the reasons why we are looking to add additional opportunities for course enrollment. So a student that is on an AP pathway can do everything they want to do and then graduate without having to do 0, 7th period, after school, summer school, etc. Lastly, we do have AP students at Lodi High who have a variety of interests, band, AVID, CTE programs. Because of CCI indicators, there's many different coursework pathways as well as exam pathways. We would ideally want to offer our students opportunity to fulfill AP pathways in multiple areas: math, science, social science, VAPA, advanced art, etc. At the same time, follow their passions and their interests, experiencing full certification through CTE, as well as, again, band, student government, link crew. There's great enrichment programs. Sometimes students do choose one over the other because they simply don't have room in their schedule. So we'd want to start by opening up opportunities for students to enroll in the AP exam and then supporting them from that point on.
I have a question, Beth. You have some acronyms here. What's the VAPA? What's the acronym for that?
Visual and Performing Arts.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Should know that.
I had just a quick question where it says 150 exam students chose not to take. Is there a questionnaire to find out why they're not taking that, or what is there? I'm wondering if there's a pattern for those kids who are, hey, I'm taking these classes, but I'm not taking the exam.
Yeah. We really, I'll be honest, data collection analysis has only really come to in front of me in the last couple years. So looking at that data, those data indicators, we actually noticed in an LT3 session when we invited AP teachers from all school sites, is there really hasn't been a lot of collaboration or PLCs to actually then initiate a survey like that at all of our school sites. And so while we know the numbers, we've not necessarily identified students because we don't pay for their exam and there's no punitive action for them not taking it. But that would be an interesting survey to give students at the end of the year, why are you not? I do it within my own classroom, but that's not a norm for everyone. We have a pretty high percentage of students enrolling in AP at Lodi High School, as well as, I think a respectable pass rate as well. So no, but we can definitely do that to gather more student reflection.
Do you have a number of those people not taking the test because you charge $99?
Going back to Ms. Alexander's question, we haven't asked students why you're not taking it. We do encourage them to take the opportunity, as statistics tell us that students that take at least one AP exam are more successful in graduating from college because they take a high stakes, high interest, time consuming exam. So we don't know. And I also am unsure of whether our data from Lodi High is due in part because we do offer additional programs to help them pay for their exam. I know how much we fundraise. I know the students that we help, even students on fee waivers, we've extended help for them as well. So there's maybe a variety of reasons. Some students just want to challenge themselves, and then when it comes to a high stakes exam, it might become overwhelming for them. Or they choose their passion, AP Chem over AP US History. But we do, again, offer those opportunities at Lodi High and advertise it very well for those students who we want to assist.
I have a quick question. I have a couple of friends who are college recruiters, and the information that I found over the last several years that I thought was interesting was that when you compare Northern California to Southern California and even the Bay Area, more students, through my experience, were spending their time on entrance exams. Now, we all know college entrance exams have changed, but to spend the time on an AP test, there was no bang for your buck, is what I was told. That when you're competing up and down against California, and the larger schools can only take a certain number of students from California, they were choosing to use it in different avenues versus AP tests.
Yeah.
Do you find that true, or are we in Northern California completely different how we approach AP tests versus, say, Southern California?
I don't know if I can speak comparatively. I can really speak from my experience locally. And when I did attend a UC admissions counselor conference, I did ask questions and understand a little bit more about how they view AP exams and whether they pass or not, which really they look at, is a student taking as many challenging courses as their local school, district or school offers? Are they avoiding taking challenging courses their senior year? That's what will make differences when admissions officers look at their applications. And so it's not necessarily just even passing the exams, it's that they're enrolling these courses, they're learning challenging analytical skills that will serve them very well, and they'll be able to make those adjustments at a college level, possibly easier than a student that does not enroll in one or more AP exams, just for that experience alone. But they don't also look for the admissions, I believe, they don't look at how many tests they pass. They just look at enrollment. And you know, there's different philosophies about how many AP courses a student should take. We want to graduate well-rounded students, which is why that second limiting factor is we don't want the students to have to choose one pathway to take. We want them to qualify multiple CCI indicators, or these college and career indicators across the board.
I would agree with you on that. I also have heard that Northern California students take 4, 5, 6 AP classes at once, while in Southern California, 2 or 3, they feel that is more than acceptable. It's just an interesting thought process.
If I can add that sometimes it adds a lot of stressors onto students, and so the environment that they're competing in the Bay Area might be a very different stress level, and schools have limited the amount of classes, AP courses a student can take due to the social, emotional health and welfare of the students.
Interesting, thank you.
First of all, Ms. Austin, thank you for being here this evening. You are a true bright light in the world of education at Lodi High. And your AP trivia night, please don't do away with that. It's the only place I get to go socially. Jeff and I hung out there this year, and I've been there 2 or 3 years now. I've never won. Your husband keeps winning. I can't figure out why. Now, as far as me, I was an AP biology teacher, and I can answer a lot of those questions that were proposed. And I'm not as good as you, but first of all, it's the rigor. Taking an AP class is rigor. And then, of course, when you talk to colleges, they want to see that on their transcripts. So you might not get the, quote, units if you pass the test, but you are getting in because you establish yourself as somebody who's willing to take the rigor. And I can speak from both my sons on that example. I had one son who took almost every AP course he could take, and it helped him get into a good school. He did pass probably 5 tests or 6, and he got no units. Only got 1. He got 1 set of units was calculus. Did it bother me? No, because the rigor of what he was taking allowed him to get into that school. Had he gone to a UC, he would have picked up all those units. So there's two ways you can look at it. I know a lot of people are pushing, oh, we don't need AP, they don't take all, I don't agree with that, because it also is a big barometer for kids that are trying to get into schools on their ability to handle rigor, take rigor, and deal with it and so forth. So I'm a big fan of it. The other part of it is, Lodi High for years did not have AP biology. And I had many students that were coming over from Lodi High into my class. I'd say they went on for 6, 7 years. And it was because our schedule was aligned. And the class was set up, I believe, after lunch, and they would come running in 5, 10 minutes late and so forth. I think Siglock was always late, but we don't want to talk or put anything against him. But my point was, we worked it out. Now, what I don't see in this presentation is what each school offers. And to coincide that with you, if Lodi High and Tokay were on, I've got another question after this too, we're on a similar schedule, you could have this commingling where the kids, well, you have a teacher over here, because you have to qualify to be an AP teacher. It's not just, oh, your school's giving you this class. You have to do your syllabi and so forth, and it has to be approved and all that. And that goes with you. So for example, if you were to leave AP, you were to leave Lodi High, your AP push would go with you, is that correct?
It would depend on what school I was going into and if it already had an established teacher.
But it does go with you, is that
Yes,
correct?
oh, I'm sorry, yes, my ability to, yeah, my
Check
training,
box, right.
my syllabi, yes, that goes with me.
And then if they didn't have somebody qualified at Lodi High, they would lose that class because the AP would not recognize it because the teacher hadn't been certified. Am I correct? So the people that are teaching AP have gone out of their way to be more qualified to teach those classes as well. Now, as far as commingling, I know that we're on a different schedule. Our district has different schedules at each school almost, and it makes it difficult to commingle. What I don't see in this is, what are we offering in each school? Because there might be a kid at McNair who is just a savant in AP chemistry, or math, and he can't get over to Bear Creek that might have an AP class to take that class and take the AP test. So where are we with that at our schools? Because are we putting up barriers because we don't offer equity at each school? And that's something to think about. And my last question is, because I don't see that anywhere here, I did ask for that. I wanted to know what each school taught. And I wanted to know what each school, how they were doing. And maybe we need some, as I've been told earlier, horizontal talking, and vertical, so horizontal. And the last part is the cost. And just on free and reduced lunch years ago, now that they've gone to giving everybody lunch, if we remove that barrier, how many kids would take that test? A lot.
You mean like if the test was paid for, how many students would take the test?
Yeah.
It's a hypothetical. We could look at data from districts like Lincoln that do, I believe, pay for their exams. I wasn't tasked with looking that up, so I don't know. And because we haven't given a survey to students to ask, why aren't you taking these, the collectively 150 exams? Is it a content issue, a rigor issue, or is it a cost factor? That would be a starting point for us. As I said, we did meet with, or we had the LT3 session, which we had representatives of AP from all 4 high schools, some more than others. And our conclusion was that all of our school sites run things differently, paying for exams, et cetera. This change over to an ARIES data confirmation form has been a little bit of a sticking point for accessibility for our students. It's no longer a paper, so students, a student whose parents don't have an email, it might make it difficult to, apply for that income level to have a fee waiver. And that's a very specific case that just came up this last week. And that takes problem solving on behalf of our admin and the student who is advocating for themselves. So I really can't hazard a guess. We also note that there are risks. There's a cost to offering to pay for everybody's. Is will they take it seriously and will they invest the amount of time that is needed? Will it add to their stress level and will it take away from their focus on subject areas that they excel at?
Would you be in favor of, if they take the AP class, they should take the AP test?
That is not my personal policy, and there is no punitive extra hard final if they don't. But I usually have about a 90% of my students take the exam because I encourage it from the very beginning of the year. And we offer assistance and guidance, tutorials, etc. But I don't always want to force a student to do that because there's a number of factors why a student wouldn't want to take it. And honestly, in those 2 weeks of AP testing, there's also a number of sports competitions that are going into section finals.
Right.
There's lots of other, we bombard our students with these opportunities and we want to take them all, but then when they take them all, it can be very stressful, so.
Yeah, I noticed too in the report that at your school, that some of your teachers will change the grade if they get a 5 or 4 or whatever and move it from a B to an A or so forth. It's, and lastly, you said it goes on transcript as well, Lodi High. Is that correct? And Lodi High is the only high school in our district that does that.
At this time.
Okay, I really struggle with that. I congratulate you for doing that, but I struggle with the fact that our other schools are not doing that. My whole premise here, and this is not to take away from your presentation, is that why aren't we doing the great things that you're doing at the other schools? And I get that maybe we can't do AP Trivia Night at some other schools because of a lot of different reasons. But the fact that you're putting scores on their transcripts, you're changing grades if they do well on the AP test, that should be universal. That should be a given. That's my feeling as an AP teacher. So I congratulate you on what you're doing at Lodi High. I also know that, Ms. Osterman, that you are a rock star. And the school district doesn't do enough to value your work and what you do. You are truly in the trenches doing all the work that is needed, and your kids benefit from it. And we are really lucky to have you as a teacher in our school district. So thank you.
And I do have all that data on separate charts for you, but it was not in that report because of the that report. But if you're curious, we can definitely share that information.
Mr. Horton, a question for you, since we're talking about that high school that offers this. Is our goal to go through all the other high schools, do the same thing, so we can have transfer students and they don't have to, start over or whatever the case might be?
Yeah, that would certainly be something we can look at. I think if you think about this in the big picture, we want to look at how do you reduce as many barriers as possible, have as many students in as many AP classes as they want to take, students be very well prepared to be able to get 3, 4, 5s on their exams. So really what we're saying is we want to build the denominator for students that take the AP, and we want to increase the numerator of students that can pass with a 3, 4, 5, and that really this is a situation that begins well back around 5th grade. So when we think about preparing kids that want to be in AP classes, that have the wherewithal, the skill in math, science, and writing and reading, this is something that started many years prior to get kids in that pipeline so that they can get there. So in other words, to build this metric of the AP exams to get 2 classes or 2 tests passed with a 3, 4, 5, this is something that happened many years before. It doesn't happen just because students walk in and suddenly see the light and now they can take the AP exams. This is something they have to be very well prepared for. So for us thinking about this is how do we clear the barriers? And so some of the things you saw on the slides for the board, just kind of bring it into a summary, would be the 6-period day is a handicapping condition at the high schools. There's not enough opportunities for kids to take more classes. So AP is sometimes one of those that gets sacrificed. We need to look at the board policy for graduation requirements to look at how we don't lose classes like AP Human Geography or AP Economics. We don't want to unwittingly undo one thing just to satisfy another. And then the other is to look at that cost issue. It would be a shame to think that in the year 2024 we would have kids that would be willing to take an exam but unable to for financial reasons. And that would be something that we can certainly look at. It would be a very noble thing to do. So a lot of things to think about, but as you consider it in the AP world, these are things that are on our mind about how do we grow it. Grow it in the denominator and grow it in the numerator at the same time, but don't unwittingly blow something else up at the same time. So with that, we're going to keep the train rolling because we have a lot of information. Got to keep you going. We don't want anybody to run out of gas yet. So, next slide, please. International Baccalaureate, we do not have in Lodi Unified. You can see on there, it functions a lot like AP. You have to score a certain test and be higher than that in order to count. Next slide, please. So our next section we're going to look at is college credit. Another way that students can satisfy the college career indicator is to actually take college classes while they're in high school. And in doing that, we have some of those opportunities in our district, but we need more of those opportunities. So in order to get that, I have Vanessa from Middle College High School is going to talk to us a little bit about the way college credit courses function right now.
Good evening. My name is Vanessa Hara. I'm the principal at Middle College High School. I've been there as the admin for the last 2 years. Previously to that, I was a teacher at Middle College High School from 2007 to 2019 before I started my admin role. So I'm very happy to be back at the site. So my slides are pretty basic just to kind of give an outline of the program. So as you can see on the first action, we are a partnership with Delta College. So our campus is located on Delta's campus. So we are kind of one in the same. So we are not dual enrollment, we are college credit courses. We do serve currently about 343 students. That is an increase from when I was there as a teacher. We used to max out at about 240. So from the time I left and the time I returned, we did have a growth of about 100 students or so. The second action is actually our mission statement, and I just wanted to kind of point this out because our goal is actually not for our students to get an AA, but many do, which is amazing. But what we really focus on is the 30 to 60 transferable college units. So similar to what Beth was saying about potentially limiting the amount of AP classes, that is something that we similarly do with our college classes. We would prefer that our students are taking less classes and getting better grades in those classes so that we have that quality of work over the quantity of work. So we do kind of help the students into that. So when they come to us as ninth graders, they are only allowed to take one course, and then they kind of move up. Their junior and senior year, they actually end up taking more college classes than the high school classes, just because of the time limits that they have. And then the last one is just to note that we are an all AVID school. So all 343 of our students are in AVID from 9th through 12th grade. So we are the biggest AVID program in the district. One of the benefits to this is the extra assistance that our high school counselor gets with the teachers checking in. So each year, the AVID teachers along with the high school counselor are checking in to make sure and to maintain that the students are meeting those A through G requirements. Some of our limitations, like all great things, there are limits to what we have. We do have very limited space at Delta College because we do share the campus. We have an office that is dedicated to us, but all of our classrooms are shared with the college professors. So there may be a college instructor that goes all the way till 11:50, and then our high school classes start at noon. So it's very limited as to what is decorated and put up on the walls, so that definitely creates that college experience. We don't have, oh, grab your paper, you were late, you know, it's very electronic, and the students do kind of have to keep up on that because we are toting stuff back and forth across campus. Our second limitation is hourly resources, and this is more so on the college piece. So as part of the partnership, our students also visit with the college counselors. Because of the increase with students and the decrease in college counselors, it's been a struggle to make sure that all of our students are seen by both our high school counselor as well as a college counselor, which we strive to do every single semester so that the students are kept on their plan for potentially getting an AA, but making sure that they hit those transferable credits.
Thank you.
Do you have more than, what's the limit in enrollment?
Currently, we're at our max.
Max is 343.
We have about 90 per grade level right now. So our incoming ninth graders, last year we accepted 100, and I believe we're at 90 right now. So we lost 10 students, which is typical. When the ninth graders apply to our program, a lot of them will also apply to a program similar in Stockton Unified. And so they may get accepted to both programs and decide to go to the Stockton school because it's closer to them. And then other students may end up going back to their home school and not taking the opportunity that, we have for them.
I went to a graduation there, and I was very impressed with what the students come out with. One student had 7 AA degrees.
Yeah.
And then most of them have AA degrees already when they graduate from high school.
Yeah, last year we had 2 juniors that already have their AAs, so they're just waiting to graduate high school.
Who's up next, Dr. Courtney?
Very good. So we have Sherry from Bear Creek talk a little bit about the effect of the 6-period day on what it is to grow the college credit courses at the comprehensive high schools, because the other side of the same coin. So,
Well, I had a question.
oh, sorry.
Sorry. I'm gonna be annoying tonight. Well, I'll be my usual. Middle college, is that a lottery system?
No, it's an application.
Application?
Yes, so in the beginning of December, an application is put out and then the students will apply. It's typically due the beginning of February. This year, I believe it falls like the last Friday in January just because the dates.
So how many applications did you have last year?
We had about 170.
So what criteria do you use for selecting?
So we use grades, because we are an AVID program. They actually get more points for being in that middle section, which is the B range, and even low C's, so that's where they'll get more of their points. They get points for attendance, they get points for disadvantaged students representing socioeconomics. They'll get more points. They do get an extra burst of points if they're already in Lodi Unified, so we do accept from the whole county. Currently we have twins that are actually coming from Ripon that were accepted in, and they drive in every day for that. There is a question for the students to answer as to kind of why they want to be part of the program. There's also a question that the parents answer as to why they feel that this is a good fit for their student. And then they also submit 2 recommendations. It's not a letter of recommendation, it's a form that they take to their middle school. And so it could be a teacher, it could be a counselor, somebody on site that could attest to them. And then they'll submit that. And so basically on a sliding scale, they'll get points for that. And then once we calculate that, and then we'll take, we interviewed 130 students. And then they'll actually go through an interview, and then they're asked a series of questions, ranges from like, what's your favorite subject? What's your highlight in your day? Can you explain how you organize yourself? Asking them flat out if they want to attend. Sometimes they're like, no, my mom wants me to come here, and that helps us because then if it's not a fit, it's not a fit. So once they go through the interview, then that is scored as well, and then we look at the top 100.
This is all handled by Lodi Unified?
Yeah, on site.
Okay. Would you say that your school then is a little exclusive?
Yes. Only
Now,
because,
transportation, you don't provide that, correct?
no, we do not have
So that
transportation.
would be a barrier for kids who couldn't get even apply?
It could,
Okay.
yes.
You have no after-school activities, is that correct?
No, doesn't.
Okay. The
We have-
barriers for
we have
size?
clubs.
Just clubs, I guess.
Yeah.
But you don't have sports or anything?
We do not have sports, no.
The size, of course, is a limiting factor.
Mhm.
Now, I think it's a righteous program. I think it's a great program. And it's set up to get college credit.
Mhm.
But it's also establishing barriers for some kids that would like to do it, can't. And maybe don't meet that exclusivity.
For
So I guess the next
some.
slide will take care of what you can offer, what they can offer to those students that don't make your criteria. Is that correct?
No, this is my only slide.
No, I mean, the next slide from the next person.
Oh,
Well, let's
I'm
see.
not sure what she's.
Yes, that's
Let's
correct.
move on and see.
Yeah.
Well, I want to move on and see, I just want to make sure everybody understands the middle college, they are going to get college credit. It's ingrained in what they're doing.
Yes.
So it's a given that we're going to have that percentage. 300 kids is low for getting college credit compared to most other districts.
For a middle college, it's high. For a
Middle
district, it's
colleges,
low.
a lot of school districts are doing middle colleges. I did research on this last 3 days. This is not unusual what we are doing. It was unusual when we started. I think Mr. Thompson started it.
Yes, in
years ago.
2000.
And that was great. It still is great. But as far as what we're trying to meet as far as college credit, I don't think we can use that as a true marker, because most of our kids are not involved in middle college. We only have 343 students. So I'll let you continue. I'm sorry, I made it annoying.
No problem. And this next part is to address exactly that, because if you can't grow it over at Delta, you've got to grow it somewhere. So where do you grow it? So Sherry from Bear Creek is going to take us down that road.
Good evening. My name is Sherry Carson. I'm in Bear Creek High School, and I'm part of the social science department. I'm also the Bell Schedule Committee Coordinator. And I'm here tonight to present on the 6th period effect on college courses and CTE. So we were reflecting upon current actions in this indicator area. Action 1 is LEA teacher input to establish priorities in building a new schedule. So if we look at what is possible, can we go to potentially a 7th period schedule? Action 2 was really to communicate within stakeholders on our site what works for CTE and potentially dual enrollment courses. Our Action 3, what we are working on currently, is actually developing a 7th period rolling block schedule. It's a modification of a schedule. I could describe it now, but it would take a long time. I think a lot about minutes as I'm building these schedules. I think right now we're on our 5th or 6th version of building it. Really our goal is to create more student opportunities and to really go after that 7th period. And our Action 4 that we have been doing for as long as I've been here at Bear Creek is to offer a 0 period course to help students who want to enroll in courses like AVID, CTE, music, speech and debate, and this year dual enrollment, English. They're all during 0 period, because what happens is when our freshmen come into Bear Creek, they just have such limited schedule space. And I can really speak to this because I teach AP Human Geography, which is the first freshman level AP course. And I ask my students, if you could take a 7th period, what would you choose? And a lot of them say AVID or they say band, but they have that limitation in their schedule where they just don't have the space. And so I think it's important that we ask our students, what would you do if you could? And that is something that often, I don't think they're asked, if you had the room in your schedule, what would you actually do with it? So I've been asking those questions as I'm working on building this schedule, because I think it's inspiring to the work that we're embarking on. And as far as like our limitations regarding the 6th period day effect on college courses and CTE, so one limitation is really the struggle that students have to take CTE courses and also maintain A through G alignment until their junior and senior year. So I spent some time actually speaking to our agriculture teacher, and she said a few of their science courses do enable students to take beginning level CTE in their department and also be A through G, but she said it's incredibly difficult for students to do that. Also, our second limitation is that a lot of our CTE intro level courses must be started either sophomore year or junior year. They cannot start them as freshmen. They just don't have room in their schedules. And then what happens is once they take their initial class, they have to take a concentrator class in order to be able to take the capstone course. And so that is a series of courses they have to take in order to be completers. And our program is focused around program completers. So essentially these pathways are built to ensure that students can be a pathway completer. So again, that equals the concentrator plus the capstone course. This is how it was explained to me. And then our fourth limitation, again, is that students just do not have enough schedule space to complete the CTA courses, pathways, dual enrollment during the school day. Our fifth limitation is that when we look at changing the bell schedule, we have to pass a site MOU, and it has to be 80%. So if I have 79.9%, I have not passed that MOU. So, and that is to change the LEA working conditions at one site. So each site essentially has to pass their own MOU to change our bell schedule. And then limitation 6 is that in order for a teacher to teach at a high school campus in our district, to teach dual enrollment, they have to be an employee of Delta College as well. So they have to be certified essentially to teach at a community college, which means they have to have a master's degree or above and basically teach at our high school and for the district and also for a community college as well. So we have one teacher currently doing that. He's teaching English. Very exciting, 0 period.
Very good. So as you can see, we have two things on the table to think about. One would be over at Delta College, you're maxed out on space. If you try and do it at the comprehensive high schools, we have some significant work we need to do. Some of those are policy and systemic issues, and some of those are mechanical issues. But they are able to be done, but we have to put some priority and focus on those in order to get them done. But you can see, in order to grow the college credit courses for kids to complete that, we have some work to do in order to get that. It can be done, but it's going to take work.
I have a question for Ms. Carson. Currently you offer a 0 period class. How many students are enrolled in that?
That is a great question. I do not know. I can look into that. I can get back to you with that data.
That's great. Emails.
Okay.
I have a quick question. There's 0 period. Didn't you have to get a waiver from the state starting school before the preferred time? I brought this up when Dr. Washer was superintendent. Why don't we just offer 0 period across the board? And I was told because of Mr. Newsom's mandate, high school couldn't start at such time.
What I can share with you is, as far as ADA goes, the state built into that 8:30 start time that you do not get ADA for students who take a class prior to 8:30 a.m.
Unless you apply for a waiver.
I'm not aware that there is a waiver under the law.
That's what I was told.
Okay, I have not heard that, but
So
certainly
these
look at it.
students and teachers that are working, we're not getting ADA for them during that period, is that correct?
It would be the students who attend a 0 period. We do not collect.
But we're picking
ADA.
up on the back end as they go to school.
They still attend school. This is just adding an additional piece, but we don't get funded for that. We're adding a section without the students funding that section.
You're picking it up probably by adding students to other class sizes, is probably how you're doing it. I'm just trying to figure out how you're doing that now.
Yeah, and that's happening at the site level. That's specifically looking at master schedules, the number of sections you have, and how you're building that. We did look at some of the one-time monies we had and offered
Well, you have
some.
to pay the teacher as well.
Yeah, well, yeah.
So you don't get ADA for that period.
Or take a period off.
It wouldn't be in the regular work day. We don't have 0-6 or 0-5 versus 1-6 teachers. This would be in
I'm just
addition.
curious on that. Now, Mr. Young, I have a question for you. Can the board implement their own schedule for the high schools?
The board can give direction on that, but this is a collectively bargained issue that needs to happen within the context of bargaining because it has workday implications. Specifically what was negotiated and agreed to under the workday provision has what I would say are 4 different pieces: 54-minute prep period for high school teachers. Then you have under the workday grid, you have teacher day, instructional day, and then teacher or instructional time and then teacher contact time, all of which has to be in alignment and all of which has to match up with the state's required minutes. So there would be negotiation implications in order to enact a schedule other than what exists currently.
Is it possible to do a 7-period day meeting that requirement?
There were some challenges looking at a common planning time and being part of that as far as the averages potentially, but not with the way it's set up daily right now.
Is daily a negotiable item or not?
The workday is going to be negotiable. That it's going to have to be
As
negotiable.
long as we establish the minutes, why would there be a problem?
Because we can't meet the prep period, we can't meet the teacher contact time, instructional time, and teacher day provisions under the LEA contract with a 7-period day, the way it's set up, but we can meet the state minutes.
Thank you for the information.
I have a quick question for Ms. Carson. So for kids at Bear Creek, is that the only college class they can take is English 300?
To my knowledge, yes.
Can they not do, or can they do an online class if they so desire outside of this?
Yes.
So it doesn't limit them from taking Delta class on math?
They are not limited. There are dual enrollment courses that are offered that they can take online. But they don't take them during the school day, is my understanding.
And then are those courses similar to what NCHS kids can take, that the Bear Creek kids can take online?
I don't have personal knowledge about how those online courses go, but my son is currently taking some online courses through community college, and I do feel like the in-class experience is vastly different than that of online.
Can I speak to that? English, the second, not just English 300, it's English 1A, and that's the only one that's offered on campus. But each semester, they have, students have a selection of 4 to 5 classes online that we share with for comprehensive high school, and the goal is to ensure that they can either transfer with them or earn an AA, work towards earning an AA degree.
So our comprehensive high school students still have an opportunity to get an AA if they so desire?
Yes, outside of school day, yes. We had a couple last year that graduated that earned an AA, but they did have to go outside of the dual enrollment as well.
One of the things inside that to bear in mind is with the College Career Indicator, if students go out and do an online class on their own without being under the district umbrella or the school umbrella, it doesn't count toward the CCI. So keeping the students under our umbrella is the only way for us to get the metric to be met. So it's kind of like a detail within the detail. So being able to grow the program but grow it as a district is crucial, otherwise you don't get credit on the College Career Indicator after the fact.
Clarification with middle college, high school, their junior and senior year, are some of the college courses they take articulated to match the high school course as well, so they get dual credit for it. So you have to take English 12 to graduate, and you can also take English 1A, okay.
Correct.
So you still have to take all the high school courses plus the college courses.
Yeah.
Okay, I just didn't understand that piece when you were talking about 11th and 12th grade.
Yes, that's correct. So for 12th graders, our 12th graders only need English 12 and government econ. So because of AB, something that I don't know off the top of my head, they have less minutes in their day. So we have an alternating block schedule. So for the seniors, they would have like Monday, Wednesday, they would have English, and then they usually will have like a TA period. They might have some elective. We have Acadec, a very good Acadec team. So they'll have something like that in their schedule, and then we also have free periods. So that's why I was saying that in the morning time, they're taking a lot more college classes than what they're expected to take at the high school.
But they can't take them at the same time?
They can take them at the same time, yeah. So they can, like their junior year, they can be taking English 1A in the morning, but then be taking English 11 for their regular high school courses. The only courses that we do move over on their transcript are the foreign language. So we do not have a foreign language teacher, so our students do have to take Spanish, or most of them take Spanish or sign language to meet that A through G requirement.
All right, very good. We're going to move on to the next slide, please. State seal by literacy. Notice this is one of the metrics. Go back one slide. That one. That has two moving parts. They have to meet the state seal by literacy, and on the Smarter Balanced Assessment score a 3 or higher in the English Language Arts section of the test. Otherwise, they don't check that box. of being college ready. So I'm going to introduce Eva. She'll talk to us a little bit about the state seal by literacy.
Good evening, Eva Martinez. I'm the English Learner Program Coordinator, and not only English learners are my focus, but as well as a state seal by literacy. So I did add an addendum to a resource to the addendum for tonight, just to kind of give a more clear picture of the state seal by literacy. But in the past 2 years that I have overseen this particular piece, there were definitely some ahas that occurred to me. And one was we were only offering state seal by literacy in 2 languages, which is French and Spanish, because they were the only 2 courses where we had 4 years of the language being offered, and or we had an AP class offered for that. Another piece was our pathway to seal by literacy, starting at the younger grades, was only being given by Alcorn and Cerna. So all the other middle schools that offered a world language, more than likely Spanish, those students were never really considered for a pathway into seal by literacy. So with those pieces, taking a look at that last year, we wanting to increase our numbers, we want to be able to provide other languages so that students that don't have the opportunity to take a Vietnamese class because we don't have a Vietnamese teacher teaching that language can have a seal by literacy in Vietnamese. So we have a platform that we purchased for this year called Avant. It's a platform used in other high schools as well to increase the number of seal by literacy recipients. And Avant provides languages from Urdu, Punjabi, Vietnamese, Cambodian, all languages, so that students can, that are not offering those courses, can then take that proficiency test to then be a seal by literate. And which coincides with the SBAC. If they have that 3 better in English, then they have that opportunity. The other piece is starting to target our middle schools to begin that pathway. And so we've started that conversation already. Because the other middle schools should also be a part of the game. They should also have that opportunity. And what the Avant test will do for us in the middle school is it will actually assess the 8th grader to know, are you going to be in Spanish 1 or Spanish 2, maybe even Spanish 3, which will provide a great opportunity for our Cerna kids, because if they've had 9 years of Spanish and they graduate and go to high school, they should not be placed in Spanish 1. So it gives them an opportunity to even accelerate that level of languages. So or even offer another language if they want to do that as well. So it definitely widens the scope of our students. The limitation that we've had with seal by literacy is our data input in ARIES is inaccurate. So right now, ARIES does have a piece where it will identify a student who's on the seal by literacy track. But the data that we input into the system is not calculating correctly. So we are missing students just within the data entry. So that's definitely something on our radar for this year, to really make sure that we are not missing any students with the state seal by literacy. And the other piece is just to continue the funding of the platform, of the testing platform, and also provide opportunities for our world language teachers, not only at the high school but middle school, to have a horizontal communication and collaboration, so that we are preparing our students at an early age and guiding them into the courses selected in high school, to encourage them to take that AP Spanish courses and to be able to take the exam and provide that support with them.
Very good. Any questions on state seal by literacy?
Question about the Avant that you mentioned. Is it a testing or is it a platform like Duolingo that you
It's a testing platform, so it's an assessment that tests the students in reading, writing, and as well as speaking. That some of the assessments are requiring a headset, so that you're speaking into the platform they're testing it.
Is it in school or online at home video?
Is at school. So we would set up like a testing center where the students would be able to take the assessment.
And how many kids do you know how many kids are taking that right now?
We have not started it yet. We've just started. So it'll be interesting to see. My curiosity are the other languages. How many students are going to take that opportunity that speak other languages that we don't offer to be able to take that assessment. And then our middle schools too, I'm excited to see those numbers. So we're at the very beginning steps of that.
I'm curious to know more about how we do with this, because when you're talking about languages, we have to really start thinking globally. These kids go out there, go to colleges, they do research. I can attest it from my own experience. My child is working, well, he's not a child, he's 21. He's working with the people in Nicaragua online, but he speaks to them in Spanish because of bilateral seats that he got.
Yeah.
So similarly, there's research happening all over the world. Now our kids should be able to communicate.
Yes.
Yeah, so I'm looking forward to what we get out of the lab.
Yes, me too.
Thank you.
Yeah, so on that state seal by literacy, as you can see, that's an issue that goes back into the middle grades. So when we talk about that grades 5 through 10 span, you can see that in order to raise that metric, it takes work, goes all the way back into the earlier grades. Moving on to the next slide now is the UCCSU A to G. As you can see, this is a very complicated measure. It's not only meet all the A to G requirements, but also then meet one of the other indicators below. So there are multiple levers that have to move in order to meet the college career indicator for the A to G metric. On the next slide, please, we will talk a little bit about some of our numbers on UC A to G over the last couple of years.
Right, and again, we're bringing back some information from the last presentation. Only this time we are able to provide that with the county and state as well. So here we have the percentage of students who have met the A through G requirement, and also making that comparable to some, or bringing in some of the information, some of those comparable or comparing districts as well. So we have 3 years, so we have a little bit of trend data here, and now have, as requested, added a number of students that are in each one of these bars. So you can track now the change in A through G requirements over the last 3 years, from 2021 to 2023, and also compare that with the county and state numbers.
Very good. And then next I'm going to have a couple of our high school folks, Janae, and you will talk a little bit about what we do to try and raise the performance of our UC A to G, in particular the Measuring Student Learning Project, and then also the outreach we do to students and parents. So first I'll turn it over to Janae. She'll introduce herself.
Good evening. My name is Janae Waters. I'm the vice principal at Bear Creek High School. So like Abby spoke to before, the Measuring Student Learning Project comes out of Riverside County Office of Education. Our teachers have been, our math teachers specifically, have been working with them for some time. But we district-wide, all the comprehensive high schools did a training prior to school starting in the Measuring Student Learning Project. So we have grown this at our school site. We actually gave a release period to a teacher from our math department to be the MSLP coordinator. And so he is working to help other departments make gains in this area as well. So current actions in this indicator area, like the math, like Abby spoke to before, teachers in teams. So let's give an example, the IM1 team. They identify and agree on essential standards that they're going to teach in each subject area, so that teachers at the next level know what the content has been, the content that's been mastered at the prior course level. So there's no having to guess, which gaps to fill in, right? All students who met competency and move on to the next level have mastery of those identified essential standards. They also work together as a team to develop common assessments, common rubrics. They calibrate their grades to make sure they're grading in a similar manner and marking the rubric in a similar manner. They also do standards-based grading, as you saw before. So this helps because there's no grade inflation. So a student in Abby's class who gets a B would be similar in skill set to a student in Eric's class that gets a B, right? And the grade distribution is a true bell curve, not a double peak bell curve, which we commonly see where, most students are getting C's, right, or B's, and a lot of times we see the opposite of that, where lots of students are getting A's and F's. So more of our students are passing, and they're being assessed fairly and similarly across different teachers. So we see evidence of this working. So from 21 to 22 to 2024 to 2025 school year, we increased the number of students passing and enrolled in IM1. In IM1, we went from 14 to 21 sections. In IM2, we went from 8 to 13 sections, and then in IM3, we went from 6 to 9 sections respectively. In high school math, which is a non-A to G course, we decreased from 17 sections to 3 sections in that same time span. So more and more kids, as you can see the growth with IM3, more and more kids are A to G, UC A to G ready, because they have to take those 3 years of math in that series, right? So they have to take IM 1, 2, and 3 to be A to G in the math area. So some limitations or challenges to grow this indicator area. That regular, consistent teacher collaboration time is needed. And teachers also need to want to collaborate and opt into this philosophy and work. And I've seen, firsthand how it just entirely transformed a department. And I think math is an area where a lot of people don't see a lot of hope. And I keep telling them, but I've seen it done. MSLP is amazing, and it goes along with the work that Dr. Horton is doing with Clarity, as well as the PLC process. It all dovetails together and works together. So the more and more we can move to this model, the more success we're gonna see in all content areas. And we're gonna see our kids become A to G at more increasing rates.
Great, and next slide. And you can introduce himself.
Good evening, board members. My name is Yu Lor. I'm here to talk about youth A through G outreach, specifically at Tokay High Schools. So broadly, we have presentations that we share with parents and community members, such as our 8th grade parent night, and we also have targeted sessions with our EL parents, our ELAC committee, really spearheaded by our intake office and our staff there. We have a focus on class presentations to students. This is predominantly counselor-led. They're going into classrooms, they're talking to students, giving presentations. And then we have pull-out sessions where counselors are meeting with students one-on-one. And this is across 9th through 12th, so it's a tremendous task that counselors have taken on to provide that opportunity for students at the 9th grade level. And then we repeat this 10th grade, 11th grade, 12th grade, just to reinforce that knowledge and expectations, because we understand that students are being pulled different ways and that their focus shifts from 9th grade, 10th grade, 11th grade, 12th grade year. So counselors are making a point to meet with students one-on-one to really have that focus, intentional time with them about the importance of A through G. In terms of limitations for outreach, I would say it's time, just because there's so much information that's being directed at students and parents that they're being bombarded with. And if we're talking about A through G availability, it would be in terms of our visual performing arts or VAPAC courses, and limitations towards our physical spaces. We don't have enough room to support expanding that program, or the staffing to support expanding that program as well too.
Very good. So one of those pieces, as you can see there, is in moving the UC A through G issue. Again, it goes back to those grade spans of 5 through 10. What we really need to be thinking about in doing our work is to move all the way down to grade 5 and start talking with kids there about what it means to be UC A through G ready, so they're thinking about their math, their reading, their writing, their science, for instance, and why that's important that they be good students all the way back there, so that when they get to the middle grades and then this outreach begins, kids and parents have already been well versed in what that means to be a good student, what it means to be doing your very best, and how to get the help you need. So with that, any questions on the UC A through G?
I have one question. Do we not have a grant that's supposed to be looking at A through G?
We do, and we spend it.
And what, okay.
Good,
So,
good job.
Good job.
Oh, yeah.
So in looking at your grant, what was the problem area? What were the solutions? Where's the data to show me that it's working?
Well, a lot of that train had already left the station before I got here.
I understand that. I'm putting you in a spot that occurred with Dr. Sully.
Yeah. What I would say is what we are looking at is how to harness the things that we already have, keep those things moving, and now talk about how you get greater outreach. some of the things that are already happening are the right things. Like think of this measuring student learning project, for instance, and having that be an A to G focus. That is very important work. But now it's really thinking about how do you get that down to younger grades? How do you get the counseling teams at the younger grades to be able to do outreach with kids? Focus on the articulation of the middle school, so when the middle school send the kids to the high school, they don't suddenly show up at 9th grade when grades count, not knowing that grades were important.
Right.
We have to have it that the culture is built.
Is the grant for up to 2026, is that correct?
Yeah, I think it expires 2026.
And we have to share results on that?
We will. We'll have an output when it's over with.
Yeah, because I'm kind of curious if the board approved it, but we throw people at problems, but we don't know what the problem is. We just say, here's the problem. And then we don't look at, okay, what do you need to solve the problem? What can we do as a board to help you with the solutions that you need? And here we've had this program for 2 years, and I have never seen any results of the effects of the last 2 years.
We can bring something back.
That would be great.
Yeah, I would love to do that. And also, I'd like to talk with an eye to the future, though, on what we'd like to do to make that even better. Because I think it's a twofer. Very good. Let's move on. In the interest of time, let's move on to the college career side. We're going to move now to the college career side of the house. Next slide. You can see my colorful slide there. A couple of the things we have in Lodi Unified, a couple of things we don't. The blue, light blue are JROTC, so Kathleen will correct me on that in just a moment. I put that mistakenly on there as ROTC. That's the college level version. Career technical education, both of those require companion indicators. They don't travel on their own. Students have to accomplish something else with that. The green we do not currently have in Lodi Unified. Those are incredibly interesting things that are going on at state and county levels that we do not have at this point. And then in the orange, we'll talk about what our special education students with IEPs are able to do to meet the career indicator. So next slide. And as we do this, we look at ROTC. So leadership military science is one of the ways that students can accomplish the career indicator. But notice it's a multi-levered thing. Students have to not only accomplish 2 years of the courses, but they also have to score a 3 or higher in the ELA or math subject area, or a 2 or higher in the other. So it's a 1-2 punch in order to get there. So I'll have Kathleen from our high school speak about that. So next slide, and she can introduce herself.
I'm Kathleen Whistler. I'm the vice principal at McNair High School, and this is my second year at McNair, having spent 11 years at Tokay before that. So it's my first year working with the 4x4 block, which I have to say answers a lot of the concerns that we've got, because I have students at my campus who can complete 4 years of student government, 4 years of AVID, be in band for 4 years, and effective with the 26-27 school year, we'll be able to complete 4 years of JROTC. Thank you for approving levels 3 and 4. That's the first step toward that. Our current situation right now is we have 1 instructor. We're supposed to have 2. Since the pandemic, we have been operating with 1 instructor. We did begin this year with 2, and our remaining 1 had retired. So we had added a new one this year. We were supposed to have a non-commissioned officer retired and a commissioned officer retired in charge. So we're also excited that we've got a lead on a non-commissioned officer to replace the one who did retire earlier this year. The Cadet Command does expect that we have about 10% of our student body involved with JROTC, and prior to the pandemic, we were approaching that number. At its height, we had 157 students participating in JROTC. Since we came back from pandemic, that number has dropped steadily until this year. Last year, we had about 17 students involved. This year, we are close to 40. So we are starting to see an upswing with that. Part of that is due to our new hire. We have a very dynamic instructor. Well, we got her from Edison High School. She was single-handedly running a program with over 200 cadets. So she says, give me time, I will get you there. And we're very excited to have her on board. The reason we have such low numbers right now with the meeting this particular criteria on the CCI is because we have low numbers in the program. In the last couple of years, we've had fewer than 10 students in the second year of the program. What you anticipate having happen is about 100 freshmen joining the program and about half of those continuing to the next year, and about half to the third year, and about half of that to the fourth year. So by the time you hit year 2, you should have between 40 and 50 students in that second class. We've had 4. So when you've only got 4 to 7 kids a year, you got 10 of them are meeting the requirement. That's actually not terrible. We just need more kids in the program, so we will get there. If you're wanting to expand the Junior Reserve Officer Training Corps, if you didn't know that's what JROTC stands for, you're going to need kids to be interested in it. And we all know that the #1 indicator of student success is the teacher in the classroom. You've got to have a dynamic set of instructors to build that program. So you will need student interest, you will need dynamic instructors, and you will need a place for them to do their thing, which is very involved.
Very good. Yeah, JROTC, fantastic program, but all of those are the limitations. It'd be great to have it every high school, but finding the personnel to teach it is a real struggle in California. Keeping them is a struggle, and then having them be dynamic is the next piece that can be a struggle. But building the programs are fantastic. Any questions from the board on building the JROTC programs? All right, very good. Next slide. So now we'll move to career technical education. So obviously another way to meet the career indicator is through CTE, but you can see it as a multi-levered approach. You not only have to be able to complete the capstone course in a pathway, but you also have to be able to hit one of those 2 red areas below. You either have to have a college credit course, or you have to score on the Smart Balance Assessment 3 on one of the areas and at least a 2 on the other. So do that. I have Julie from Lincoln Tech will talk to us about what CTE and growing that program really means.
I could talk a really long time about this, but I won't, so it's getting late. My name is Julie Jansen. I'm the principal of Lincoln Technical Academy and Lodi Adult School. I oversee all of our CTE programs in our district. So the first thing that I wanted to talk about was the number of students that are currently enrolled in CTE programs throughout the district, and really this is an average for the last several years, about 3,000 students. We have been increasing that number slowly, but we know that our students like CTE, we know that they know about CTE, so I think we're doing a good job in marketing our CTE programs. However, as you can see, our percentage of completers are about 25%, which is not a great number. So in order for a CTE, in order for a student to be considered a CTE completer, is that they do have to successfully go through 2 courses in their pathway. So it's a 2-course sequence, it's a concentrator and a capstone course. And so students, because of their schedules, are normally going through these courses as juniors and seniors. So in order for them to, as I said, to be considered a completer, they have to do the 2-course sequence, but they also have to pass their capstone course, which is the last course in the sequence, with a C- or better. Lincoln Technical Academy has the highest completers in the district. Second to that would, and believe it or not, would actually be McNair, even though we have the fewest amount of CTE programs there, and it's because of the schedule, 100%. Because when students are taking CTE, their CTE sequence at Lincoln Tech, much like the block schedule, it's a 2-hour block. They're able to take both classes as concentrator and capstone into one class. So they're technically called a CTE standalone class, and that's what we have at Lincoln Tech. So that's why we have the high numbers there. The limitations that, I mean, I could talk about a lot of them, but a couple of the limitations that we have in order to be able to grow this is that I think we need to change our mindset about what it is to be a student who takes a CTE course because they're not going to go to college. And that's a real mindset that needs to be changed. CTE is just as important as any other core course that a student will take, and I think it's going to have to be a collaborative effort on all of our parts to make sure that students understand the importance of CTE because we are preparing them for life after high school. We're preparing them for college and career. It's not just a career. CTE is not for students who are not going to go to college. And I think it's really important that we all have that message to our students. I think we need to make sure that we really put an emphasis on that importance. I think that the limitation number 2 that I have listed here under middle school, I believe with every fiber in my body that we need to start CTE exploration at a younger age. And we currently don't have that in our district right now. And I think that there are some limitations to that as well. I think that our students should be able to take CTE exploration at very young age, in elementary school and especially in middle school, and to really expose students to the different industry sectors, and particularly those that we have in our district. There are 15 industry sectors that the state of California has identified, and we offer 14 of those 15 industry sectors for our students. So I think that if we could somehow find a way to expose our younger students to CTE exploration, CTE programs, and what that can do for them in preparing them for college and career, I think that by the time they get to high school, they will be able to make more informed decisions as to what they want to do after high school. So I think that that would absolutely increase our numbers for our CTE completers in our district.
Julie, the major problem probably for the middle schools would be transportation.
So, right.
High school kids actually transport themselves to CTE.
No, we actually provide transportation to all of our schools, all of our comprehensive high schools. We bus our students from and to. Mm-hmm.
So there's no problem in including the middle school.
Well, the middle school kids would stay at their home campus to do the career technical education explorations.
You'd have to bring the instructor to campus.
Right,
Yes.
or have one already there, yes.
We could qualify academic teachers to teach CTE programs. There is a way to do that. And there is a way for me to fund that with all of the grant funding that I apply for. We just have to find the time and the day, and we have to find the space. So last summer, I toured a school district in the Sacramento area who is already doing this, and they have a room probably half the size of this room here, where they have individual stations for all 15 industry sectors, and the middle school students, they rotate to all of the different stations, and they learn about the different CTE programs in 7th and 8th grade. It's amazing. Yeah.
I have a quick question for you. Do you have any number for students who finish their cohorts who go to college after that?
I do not. I do not.
Somebody who's finished everything that they needed to for CTE, did they then go to college?
So we do a follow-up study every year, and so when I say I don't, we do have data, but it's not very good. And so the state of California requires all CTE programs in each district to do a follow-up study 6 months after a student graduates from high school. The problem, though, is that we have very low numbers of those surveys that are completed. Mainly because people don't like to answer surveys at home. So, and we've tried every which way. I've been in CTE for 21 years now, and I've been doing surveys, this particular survey, for 21 years, and I can tell you it's not better today than it was 21 years ago. It's unfortunate so that we don't really have that good data to find out how many have actually followed through.
It would be interesting to know how many of them actually finished up and then still decided, career and college would be a good idea.
Cindy, maybe through the lens of AVID and how you track students beyond high school, what is the process you follow within AVID and AVID students who attend a 4-year four-year university or complete a four-year university? And I just want to hear that so I can parlay it into what we can do behind the scenes.
So we actually have recently purchased a new college career readiness platform, which I'll be getting to with my slides, called School Links. They connect to National Student Clearinghouse, which is what AVID uses to track our AVID cohorts of students who graduate. So we can actually see in our AVID program the percent of students who have successfully completed 1 year of college, 2 years of college, 3 years of college, all the way back. I think with our class of, may even be when I was still teaching at Bear Creek, my class of 2011 that I graduated. And so because of that connection now with School Links, which connects us district-wide to National Student Clearinghouse, I think we will be able to do a little bit more tracking of our students beyond just the AVID classes.
Well, I can speak personally. My youngest son, who struggled with regular high school, took your coding classes his senior year, 2 block, or block, whatever you want to call it. And he did graduate from a college, very good college, and he's doing quite well. And the coding classes he enjoyed. It got to the point where he became a TA for the teacher because he found it so enlightening for himself. He was really turned on by it. So as a small sliver of a parent, a CTE from my family was very successful in moving him on and going to college. And he used those skills even today in his job. So thank you. So there is that opportunity. I look at CTE as, like you said, opportunity for kids to get rigor, at the same time maybe go to college once they finish. So I agree with you.
Very good. So the CTE piece obviously very important, but it goes all the way back to that grade span again of 5 through 10. You got to build the pipeline of kids to be interested in it and parents to understand what it's all about very early, so when they get to the middle grades and then move to high school, they want to do this. They already know that it's important. That's the goal. Got to get over the finish line. The next slide, please. These are a couple of programs we don't have, so we won't beat them up very much. Pre-apprenticeship, next slide. State and federal jobs programs, we do not have that either. And the next slide, here we go. So I'm going to move over to our, Lisa from the Special Education Department to talk about our students with IEPs that are able to complete the career indicator. You can see that is a multi-lever issue for those students in order to do it. First of all, those students have to be able to be in an IEP situation that has designated them to do this, and they either complete 100 hours work experience and 4 semester courses of college and career exploration. So I'll at least explain what happens with our IEP kids and how they can be a career indicator completer.
Good evening. My name is Lisa Schatz. I'm the program coordinator for special education. More so overseeing the transition side of special education, so secondary and adult programs. And I also am fortunate enough to have the workability and Department of Rehab TPP program. So that's where the work experience comes into that. So when we're looking at this indicator, one way that we're measuring it is we're looking at the work experience hours. We track it every year for all of our students that have an IEP that enter into our program. So for this indicator, it's asking for 100 hours by the end of 4 years, but our goal when we work with students, mostly that are 16 and older, our goal is to work with them for 100 hours at least per year. The second action, we ensure that the course offerings include college and career exploration for students to explore post-secondary education, employment, and independent living. And we monitor student progress and communicate successes or areas for improvement with site teachers, case managers, to provide more opportunities for students' growth. And the limitations to this, as you, in the previous slide, it had mentioned that we're looking at students with an IEP but who are on certificate of completion pathway. So that's a very small number of our students. So I looked at numbers, but I looked at them from this year, so I didn't go back to the 2023 year. But that makes up currently about 19% of our students that are in special education. And then the limitation, the second one, is that all high school secondary students with IEPs are offered transition support through workability and
Department of Rehab Student Services. This support aims to assist students in transitioning from school to work, independent living, employment, and post-secondary education. However, the indicator does not represent all of our secondary students who have an IEP.
Very good. Questions about our transition students?
On the work experience hours, 100 hours by the end, 25 hours a year. And are you having some success with that?
We are, when it comes to our certificate of completion students, that usually is, those students are coming usually from our mod severe classes, because our mild mod or SDC mild mod classes have a diploma pathway. So the limitations with the students in that pathway sometimes could be transportation. So we're limited on when they can work, because if the parents cannot support getting the student to the job site, that makes it difficult. And then if job coaching is involved, that also makes it a little bit more difficult to provide more hours. But our goal is to offer every student 100 hours.
What type of work experiences do they do?
Oh, there's all kinds of work experiences. So it could be retail, Walgreens, go shop there, because they employ our students in Stockton and Lodi, all over the place. So it could be retail. We have some, we could be supporting at a school site too. We try not to have them employed at our school site, so maybe they're going to another school site, for instance, at Needham West. We have some of our young adults that will go over to Needham Elementary to support. Could be additional eyes out on the playground, supporting during recess, could be supporting with custodial, maybe after lunch. Gosh, being put on the spot here. We have so many employers. A lot of our local small businesses, restaurants in Lodi and in Stockton. I have a whole list, and I will share that with you, because I'm kind of blanking on all of them right now, but we have a lot of employers.
I understand. It's such a great thing that they can do those things with work experience. I mean, a lot of those kids will bloom right quick when they start working on the outside.
Amazing.
With the work experience. Yes, thank you.
And COVID, unfortunately, took some of our larger employers away from us. We had TJ Maxx, Home Goods, Marshalls, and HR took that, away from those types of programs like we have. So anyway, we are continuing though, and appreciate all the support in the community.
I'd just like to make a comment. I've visited the school a couple of times, and is this on? And the different programs. Can't even tell. I'm deaf. But anyway, I was really impressed with the students and the staff of the school. I've been there a couple of times, just some of the things, and the work experience. The kids were getting their food safety certificates, and just working with the other ones. And I was there, the other time I was there, it was kind of early in the morning, or maybe it was Friday in the afternoon. They were getting on their buses, but it's a tough, I don't want to say audience, a tough group of young people, not just, because some of them are young adults. Tough group to work with. I was really impressed with it, and when I interacted with the students, you could tell they had been educated there and knew how to interact with adults, no matter what their level was. I mean, somebody could barely speak, but they still know how to shake hands and talk to adults looking in the eye, and the staff seemed really, really jazzed to be there. Enthusiastic.
Thank you.
Thank you. It's not easy to work with, so appreciate it, and it's necessary.
Very good. Any other questions for our transition programs? Obviously a very important part of our career indicator. And moving on to the next slide. So we're going to talk a little bit about some of the support tools and services we already have in the district, and some places that we see that we can grow them and get the impact to be even greater across those, especially the grade spans 5 through 10. So next slide, please. So we'll talk about Avid and School Links. So I have Cindy and Tim are here. They'll introduce themselves and talk a little bit about Avid and a little bit about School Links, what we already see happening.
Hi, good evening. I'm Cindy Metler. I'm the Avid instructional coach, and I work with pre-K-12 teachers and students.
I'm Tim Stutz. I teach at Liberty High School, and I used Naviance extensively previous, and now transitioning to School Links. So I'm here to talk about some of the
So to start us off, for Avid specifically, One of our action areas can be to increase the number of students enrolling in AVID classes, because by doing that, we will then automatically increase our A through G completion rates. And then sitting here and listening to all other speakers, it dawned on me that we also would probably increase our AP enrollment and our college course enrollment, because AVID does highly recommend that by junior year, all of the AVID students take at least one AP or college entrance or college dual enrollment type class, so that by the time they graduate high school, they have completed 1 to 2 AP or college course classes. And then our second action is that last year we did work on creating a grade recovery system. A lot of our students, not just in AVID, were struggling completing A through Gs because they maybe missed 1 or 2 semesters of an A through G class where they got a D. And so that automatically knocked them out of the running of completing A through G. A lot of our students cannot take the A through G class that they got the D in the following school year. So by creating some system for a grade recovery, that is allowing our AVID students to stay in AVID, because one of our requirements is that they complete the A through G college entrance requirements. So this allows them to do that. And then we also, like Tim mentioned, we used to have Naviance in our district. It's a college career readiness platform. This year we implemented School Links. It's I think, a more robust and user-friendly program. And it's in all of our middle schools and our high schools. And by using this and getting into it and figuring out the benefits of it, I think will help our students to create what we call an AVID 4 or 6 year plans. So when they enter middle school, they can start planning out, what is my school year going to look like in 7th grade, 8th grade, 9th grade, all the way up to senior year? What classes might I be taking? When am I going to take them? And then also it allows us to track post-secondary opportunities by using that National Student Clearinghouse database. We are automatically connected with them because we are partnering with School Links, and they partner with the National Student Clearinghouse. And Tim can mention, he works at, like you said, at Liberty, and the work he's doing with School Links has been very impressive. And he also does some AVID strategies as well in his student success class.
So with School Links, it's a lot like Naviance, but a lot about it that I really like is there's a lot of assessments. And I know for myself personally, I was going to be a pharmacist because I was good at biology. My friend's parents made a lot of money to be a pharmacist. And when I got to Delta, I was going that route, and the teacher said, "You want to be a pharmacist?" And I was like, "Yeah." And he said, "Well, take this survey." And I took the Myers-Strong survey, and I had nothing in common with pharmacists. I was a teacher, manager, coach, all those things. I've done all those things, and they were my favorite jobs ever. So I really try to encourage the kids to take these, and it sorts out, says these are the careers that would match your personality. One of the things I really like about it, especially with our kids, because we don't have that many kids going on the college route, and this we can really encourage them, is I find that a lot of our kids don't feel like they would fit in college. And through Naviance and through School Links, there's like a diversity page for colleges. And I would pull up for our Hispanic female girl, I'll be like, "You don't think you're gonna fit in college? Let me show you Fresno State, where it's 20,000 students, 50% Hispanic, 50% female." And they're just like, so there's a lot of benefits to it. One of the other things I just want to mention, we've seen not a major increase, but 2, 3, 4, 5 kids going away to community colleges because, unfortunately, with our graduation rate, we receive some CSI money, but we use that money to take field trips to Consumnes River, to Columbia College, to Delta. And we've got kids actually going up to Columbia College and living in the dorms in the last several years. So I really think that power of just taking some of it, maybe even those lower level kids, 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th grade, to a college campus and showing them could be tremendous. And I know, like in my coaching days, whenever we went to a soccer tournament, we went to a college, I took a group of Lodi High students to Sonoma State during a soccer tournament. 5 kids ended up going to Sonoma State from that group. And so I just think those things, and with School Links, just be able to show them the links to the campus is right there. It's a tremendous asset that if you started in the younger groups and just got them thinking, "Oh, I like sports, I like photography, I could be a sports photographer," because that's what I would have done if I would have had a program like that. And so, thank you.
It's such a great thing that you do that with the kids actually visiting the campus like you have. Because some of those kids don't have high self-esteem. They have low self-esteem. And once you get them exposed to those things, my gosh, what a wonderful thing that can happen to them.
We really encourage them to, like, if they're into, like, I want to be a mechanic, we're like, well, let's go to Delta because they offer a great program. You just don't have to go learn somewhere else. And it's, while you're there, take a business class. So that's one of the things we really try to do so they can, we always say, don't be the guy who slings a hammer all your life. You know, be the guy who tells people to sling the hammer.
And one thing with School Links, it's not just four-year colleges. The kids can click on, I want to go to a certificate program. And it tells them across the state, across the nation, what certificate programs and what kind of certificate training is out there for students as well. And then one thing that we haven't utilized yet that could be coming in the future with School Links, working with CTE, working with Lisa, is internship opportunities. There's a way to house in School Links local internships, regional internships. We can also have mentor videos created so that local businesses could film a 2-minute, all of you could film what's it like to be a doctor, what is it like to be a teacher, and do a 2-minute video that gets put into School Links, and the kids can then watch those, and then they can ask questions that are all vetted through School Links. So those are things for the future. Also, the course planning is all done through School Links. The kids can, if they are interested in a CTE pathway, we can put those into School Links and it'll spit out for the kids what their high school course career might look like if I want to be a dental hygienist. So there's some amazing things I think coming with School Links. And then a couple other things not on the slide that I did want to mention is Avid Elementary, hearing the 5th through 10th grade comments. We do have 28 of our elementary schools are doing Avid Elementary. So we are seeing college and career happening at those younger grades. With COVID, we kind of did have a little bit of a pause to it, and now we're finally coming back, and we've actually, so I think it's okay to mention, we're going to partner with Avid to do a study on how our Avid elementary school sites have been doing and tracking students from elementary all the way through to high school to see the impact that it's had. So that was one other thing I wanted to mention. As far as limitations and challenges, having a 6-period day, like everyone mentioned, is very difficult. Avid is 4 classes out of 24 that the kids can take in a 4-year high school career because they take a class of Avid every year. It is difficult for students to fit it into their schedule, but it is also very beneficial. Our A through G completion rates are double the non-Avid student rates in our district. Our kids are taking dual enrollment, they're taking college classes, they're all Avid at middle college. So having a 6-period day is very limiting. It doesn't allow our kids to take CTE. It doesn't allow the kids to even take more than maybe 1 or 2 AP classes. So that is something I think that we would like to look at. The kids have to choose sometimes from taking they have to take sophomore year PE. They can't fit Avid into their schedule, so they have to drop it. And then limitation 2 is that grade recovery is difficult. We don't offer it during the school day. It's offered, it's self-paced, it's on their own time. We have students in sports, we have students in clubs, jobs. They just maybe don't have the time to complete those online grade recovery classes. So that's also an issue. Yeah, I think this is a great thing that we're doing, and I'm glad we're all here.
Fantastic.
Another question, how do you do it in elementary school without it? You mentioned 4 periods, how do they do that?
So in Avid Elementary, it's in self-contained classrooms. It's not an elective class, it's not a pull-out, it's embedded throughout the school day. So our teachers are trained in Avid strategies, they're trained to talk about college, career. They are doing, kindergartners are taking notes. It's amazing. We have wonderful teachers out there that are doing some great things. And by creating that vertical articulation pipeline of what's everything that we've been talking about, we're starting them in kindergarten talking about college, talking about career. And not that every kid is going to go to a 4-year college. That is the goal of Avid, is to prepare kids that they get to choose as a senior what their life choice will be. Not that they didn't know what class to take or that they didn't know about college or AP or financial aid.
Very good. Other questions?
Yeah. First of all, as a teacher 30 years and being exposed to Ruby Payne and some other stuff that we're forcing down our throat. Avid, to me, in my 38 years of teaching, was a really righteous program. Still is. And I never could understand, at least at Tokay, which I was familiar with, why it wasn't expanded, because it was working. It was something that was brought out, and teachers, all teachers saw the success of it. So I hope this is something that Cabinet will help you expand at our campus, since we're talking mainly about high schools right tonight. Because it is a good program, and it is successful. And it's proven over the years that it's going to be standing for quite a while. And as somebody who's been in the trenches for a long time, Avid was something that I looked at with a lot of respect. So congratulations to you and the people that work there. Now, my question to you is, at all 4 comprehensive high schools, how many students are enrolled in each high school in Avid? Are there limitations? Because I know it's okay. For many years, there was a limitation on the number of Avid students, which I thought was unfair.
So across the campus, not just comprehensive, including middle college, we have about 860 high school students in Avid. Middle college has the most, and then Bear Creek, they have 2 sections of Avid at each grade level. The other high schools all have 1 section at each grade level.
Why is that?
I think it's master scheduling. I know Tokay had enough students to run 2 sections, I believe, of Avid 9 this past school year, but because of sections, because a teacher can't get pulled from teaching their 5 periods of English in order to teach the 1 period of Avid.
Gotcha.
It's a lot of moving pieces, and
So, in your professional opinion, is this something that can expand at our schools if we wanted it to?
yes, it would need to include, I think, possibly some extra FTE for the school sites, so they're not so tightly bound to that master schedule, where I could, as a VP, throw a .2 over to history department so that the history teacher can not teach US history, but instead teach Avid for 1 period.
So it's more work with master schedule and the schedule itself.
Mhm.
It's 6 period day.
I think so.
All right, thank you very much.
Very good. All right. So on to our next slide. Ren, one of our counselors over at the high school, is going to speak to us about counseling and outreach. So what are we doing now, but also how we could grow this so that we have more kids and parents understanding what their choices and possibilities are as they make their way through our programs.
Yes, I can speak for Bear Creek. Our goal there is always to increase dual enrollment numbers, students access, and hopefully eventually get the support that they need. I am a self-proclaimed district dual enrollment coordinator because I reach out. I have a really good working relationship with the dean of dual enrollment at Delta College, and I look at our passing rates of students, and then at the A through G, the transfer requirements, A and AA, and I work with all the counselors for comprehensive high school, put together a list of classes for students to take each semester. And so that way that there's not always the same one. Freshmen have like an easier entry class. 11th and 12th graders don't feel like they're being left out. There's always a class for them to take. But, and so with the district, the last 2 years, we're working on franchising our lessons to our students, in our tier 1 support, and that's going really well. We use pre and post tests. Last year was 10th grade lesson plans to talk about transcripts, understanding credits, and how to access resources on campus. And then the other thing with Avid is I'm the Avid counselor. I've been the Avid counselor for almost 15 years. And there's at one point you're going to just say, you know what, let's bring more people in. And so starting next year, they, with the spring scheduling, one of our counselors will be the 9th grade AVID counselor and do the recruitment. The idea behind that is to have more support, more counselors on recruiting for AVID, and so we continue to build our program. Like Cindy said, we have 2 sections of AVID at each grade level, and because there's a buy-in and a real support for AVID our school, that's why we've been able to keep, one year we had 3 sections of AVID at the 9th grade. We were able to do that. But when I'm gonna not be maybe PC like Cindy has been, but when you prioritize AVID at your school, it can happen. We advocate, we fight, we look at numbers, and we have, right now, almost 60-some kids in the 12th grade applying in the AVID 12, applying to 4-year colleges. That's gonna affect your CCI numbers. I'm using school links. It's a lot of work for one person to do all the letters of recommendation, but one of the best features of school links is this little messaging area at the bottom of the right, so any questions that we can't, I have no idea. We're learning school links as the students are entering their data. We ask, and it's a live person. So things are working really well with that school links and with onboarding for those AVID kids. So every kid, there's your common app that they have submit, your UC, CSUs, all coming in to one area. So we're in the right direction in terms of understanding what CCI needs and getting more kids access to apply for colleges easier and be able to take, all the classes, the CTE classes are now under G, meaning one of the A through Gs. So it's moving in the right direction. So the limitation is there is no district college and career coordinator to keep things consistently, because they call me and say, hey, why do you have so many kids in dual enrollment? You don't even know. I go out and I beg, borrow, steal, and just do all that I can to make sure all the AVID kids, and I think dual enrollment is a great way to even the playing field. It doesn't, they have your AP program, but you also have kids that are going to take, that have access to college credits and college classes. And then they ask what's the challenges is not every site has a designated AVID counselor. Sometimes we have to be gatekeepers in keeping that program, I'll say pure, but there's sometimes that, I don't want it to be a dumping ground. The teachers have a lot of curriculum to follow, and so there's a criteria. That's why it's 2.0 minimum, D and the AVID is determination. So they have to want to be there so they keep moving forward. It's an intervention for kids to go to 4-year college, but we want them to be able to be successful at every grade level so they can expand their choices to take CTE classes, but if they have to remediate and retake Spanish too, or wherever, it doesn't allow them to open up their schedule. So that's where we are with counseling and support.
Thank you. Very good questions. Any questions? All right, and the final slide.
So back to our story about the bus and the parts. So you've heard from all these fantastic people and you've heard about a lot of wonderful things we have in the district, but I think you can see there's some common themes that are emerging. We have work to do. We have to focus our efforts on grades 5 through 10. We have a lot of pulling things together to harness all of this to be rowing the boat in the same direction. That's an important piece. And then you can also hear there are a lot of great opportunities where we can grow and maximize. But we also have some things now that we have to do as some cleanup projects in order to get the most out of all these things. So we have a few things that we are thinking about to bring back to the board. I'll have Neil speak to some of these here in just a second as well. But you can see that some of those are going to be some policy issues that need to be talked about and thought about and to bring to the board for decisions and discussion. We have some potential positions and people to look at to have them in the right place to get the most out of this and be able to coordinate and bring things together. We also have some things that we need to look at as far as programmatic issues. Do we have all the programs pointing in the right direction at the right way to get everybody in the right place and have the students be able to take all the courses that we want them to take? So we currently have some limitations and burdens there where we have not enough space in the high school schedule for kids to take all the classes they want to take. We don't have all the right outreach going on to kids and parents so they know what to be prepared for when they get to high school. We don't have enough outreach happening yet at the grades 5 and 6 to have them ready to go to the middle grades so they know what they can take as exploration classes to be ready for high school when that day comes. So there's a lot of stepwise things that we'd like to bring back and say, here are some of the things that we could do to maximize some of the programs, but also we want to be able to prepare and bring something back to the board to think about which of these programs should we begin our efforts on. If we're going to start to really put a magnifying glass on something, where does the board want us to put that effort and make that push? As you can see, these things are very complicated in the college career indicator. They don't all happen at once. They don't all happen, in equal rates. So we have to think about some prioritizations about where we would put it and why we would put it there.
Mr. Knaxted, members of the board, one of the things I would suggest at this point, we provide public comment so that prior to any discussion or any thoughts that the board has, we let the public provide additional comments. And so if that works for you, Mr. Knaxted, at this time, we can open it up to the public so each person can have that 3 minutes to share some thoughts from this presentation.
We got 3 people. Okay.
Well, this is going to be hard because I have like 2 pages of notes and I don't think I can do it in 3 minutes. Lisa London Wilkins, I'm the president of LEA, and there's some things that kind of bothered me that were said tonight. So one of the things on AP courses among high schools is equity. For example, we had an AP psych teacher that needed to be part-time because of a medical condition, but instead of allowing her to teach part-time to continue with her AP psych course that she was certified for, she was fired because the district decided not to accommodate her disability. I took the courses to take pre-AP when I was as a middle school teacher. They don't have it anymore, but I was told at one site that I went to that I was not allowed to teach that course because it was, quote, based on seniority versus training. So if you want to increase AP courses, you're going to have to train teachers and you're going to have to give them some sort of motivation to do this, including the ability to teach if they should so get certified. In middle college, I will tell you that having college credit, especially if you're trying to apply to a private college, can be a hindrance. They won't take you as a transfer student. So you need to think about, I think middle college is doing some great things. My son actually went to SECA for a bit. But if you're trying to transfer over transfer over with college credits, a lot of private colleges will not even accept you as your application.
Lisa, point of clarification, they are treated as freshmen even if they take college courses and have an AA. They do not get treated like juniors.
There were some, I will tell you that my 2 nephews were told that they would not be accepted at different colleges because they already had AAs. Secondly, 6 period versus 7 period day. The survey that Sherry Carson mentioned was only done at the high school sites, Lodi, Bear Creek, Tokay. They didn't include itinerant teachers, and this schedule will really affect itinerant teachers because some of our itinerant teachers, especially, I'm talking about music and PE, not only are at elementary schools, but they go to middle and high schools as well. So they were not included here. How would this affect the schedule at McNair High School that we have already? The 80% MOU passage, that's there for a reason, because a lot of the MOUs are not, they're supposed to be member driven. A lot of them are admin driven. Admin tells teachers, you will do this because I want this at my school. So the only way that we can keep this to have teacher control, to have a change in their schedule and their working conditions, is to keep that level at 80%. And there is a process that they could go through to ask for an amendment in our bylaws. I have provided that to the high school teachers who have asked. None of them have taken up on doing the referendum that's available to them. If you want high school teachers to work longer hours, or take on additional students, the district should be prepared to compensate these teachers. Right now, 50% of the teachers at Tokay High School are already on 120 contracts. Let me say that again. 50% of the teachers at Tokay High School are on 120 contracts. Every science teacher at Bear Creek is on a 120 contract. Okay? So now you're asking them, for example, if you have 35 students and you have 5 periods, your 6th period is your prep. If you teach 6 periods now, you're teaching 210 students. That's a 20% increase in the workload. Okay, so the only way this is going to work, we're not going to get more teachers to teach these courses. We can't hire the teachers we need now. So I don't know, I understand the need for a 7th period. But as a science teacher, when I went from middle school from 7 periods down to 6, those extra 10 minutes per period were phenomenal for getting my students to be able to do a lab, and yeah, just to get work done. It was incredible. So you really need to think about that. I had notes about bringing CTE to middle school. It's not that I think it's a bad idea. I think it's a great idea. But again, it comes down to the need for teachers. So same thing for Avid. If you want more teachers to teach Avid in lower grades, what's the incentive? What's the incentive? And again, even if we bring this down to middle school, we have an issue with classes. How are we going to do this? Because they have to take their 5 core classes. They have to take English, science, social studies, PE, what else? What am I missing? ELA. And then some, if they're an English learner, they're already doubling up on ELA. There are other students, because of if they're RSP and they need study skills, then they don't have an elective. So these are all things that you need to think about. Thank you.
Jim, were you going to talk?
Yep.
Ooh, visuals.
Yeah. Thank you.
Are you, before you start, you're passing something around, is that what
Yeah,
you're
but I
giving
wanted
to the
it
board?
to go that way probably.
Oh, okay, I want to make sure that.
You know, I had no idea this many people. I would have brought more. I'm sorry.
It's specifically for the board though, so that's perfect. Thank you.
There's more than just for the board. I mean, however they'll go, I guess. Sorry. I know, and I gave you a job. Sorry.
So just for the live, state your name so we can start.
Am I on the clock? All right, my name is Jen Castle, and I taught AP at Tokay and Bear Creek for 29 years, and I have taught on and off for Delta College since 1997. Dr. Ball, you asked earlier, and I teach online dual enrollment for Delta, and I have for the last 6 years. I spent last year teaching for Palo Alto Unified. I'm now the director of dual enrollment at Yuba College, and I'm here to speak to you about a little bit more about dual enrollment. But I did want to say, I think it's so fabulous that you're here, and I've heard so many good ideas tonight. Like, I was honored to be in the audience, and I wish there were more people in the audience, and I hope people are watching at home. I heard so many good ideas for secondary. 7-period day, which we've been calling for decades. More Avid, more CTE. Avant sounds really cool. School Link sounds awesome. I mean, a change from Naviance, but we can deal with that, right? Abby and Janae's description of math, more kids in middle college, reducing fees for AP tests. These are all really good ideas for secondary, and I'm telling you, it was lovely hearing that. But I'm here to talk to you about how schools throughout our state are harnessing dual enrollment. And Ren was talking about this. I'm going to take it one step further. They're boosting their CCI dashboard scores, but more importantly, they're helping kids succeed in college. First, there is a ton of research out there that shows that dual enrollment helps kids transition more smoothly into college, pay for college, enjoy greater college success once they are full-time college students, and have a greater likelihood of attaining a degree. Tons of research, undisputed. Dual enrollment is a proven tool to especially help first-generation college students with what we refer to as a longer on-ramp to college. That's the design, okay? Second, Community colleges experienced massive declining enrollment. I know there was some talk about our district and some declining enrollment, not like what was happening with community colleges, okay? But the state of California has bought in big to dual enrollment as a way to create a more reliable bridge between high school and college, and you guys, to keep community colleges in business. What do I mean by bought in big? I mean several rounds of dual enrollment legislation, millions of dollars of guaranteed funding, millions of dollars of grant money. Community colleges are throwing their doors open for high school students now more than ever. I have examples. Tiny Wheatland High School, just north of Sacramento. Some of you might have been to some concerts there. Okay, its population, it has 1,100 kids. 80% are socially, economically disadvantaged. But of the 1,100 students, there are 391 students that Yuba College is serving with their dual enrollment program this semester alone. So there is a small rural high school that is benefiting tremendously from these CCAP agreements, okay? Also, Marysville Joint Unified School District is another example. They have middle college. A lot of these places have middle college. They also have early college, before school and after school. They have on-site dual enrollment. They have many different varieties of dual enrollment, and they have the grant money to fund it, okay? The maps I distributed show what Wheatland, Marysville, Yuba City, among hundreds of Bay Area schools, Palo Alto, Gunn High School, what they have in common are these CCAP agreements. These are formalized partnerships between K-12 districts and community colleges that create early college pathways. It is not just a scattershot take college classes. They are pathways designed to help students do better ultimately in college or in their careers, okay? And very frequently, CTE programs are woven into these pathways as well. And the state of California picks up the tab for 15 units every semester. So, Lodi Unified does not have CCAP agreements. Lodi Unified played with writing that CCAP grant, but we didn't. These things need to happen. Middle college, as has already been said, has limited accessibility. I think that is an equity issue when you really take a hard look at it. The small number of dual enrollment classes we are offering outside of middle college are insufficient. I teach in that program, I'm speaking firsthand. Savvy school districts are doing more. They are signing CCAP agreements, they're identifying CalGESE transfer pathways, they're providing their students with valuable, free, early college opportunities with CTE options. This in turn boosts students' career choices, earning power, and the entire economic forecast for an entire community. Dual enrollment can be a transformative educational initiative, and Lodi Unified students deserve this kind of innovation. So Dr. Horton, when you say, how do we grow the program internally? Yes, that is exactly what needs to happen. We need a bigger, better bus. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any board comments? I have one then. Okay, thank you, folks. It's a lot of information to absorb, but one of the things that I think I heard over and over again, actually, is the biggest problem is that we need more time to provide opportunities in CTE, ROTC, electives, sports, AVID, and probably some AP programs. I think the biggest injustice that was done to schools in a long time was forcing us to an 8:30 start time. So without the zero class start, zero period, I guess, I'm sorry, then I think maybe we should honestly look at the 4x4 block to provide opportunities that most of you are talking about that I think we need in this school district. That's my opinion. Any other thoughts before we get out of here?
Yes, Mr. Knaxat.
Yes.
I'd like to thank the whole group here. It's a wealth of information that you delivered to us, and I'm happy that you did. Thank you for taking the time. It's going to be 9 o'clock now, and you're going to go back to work at 7 or 6 o'clock in the morning, whatever it is. So thank you.
I just have a quick, thank you for your enthusiasm. I think I'm leaving with more questions than I started the night with, which is a good thing, which means you're making us think. Dr. Horton, can't wait to see what you did. Thank you.
No pressure though, man.
Gary?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I started the evening by talking about we're here for student achievement. That's our overall goal. We can talk about safety, we can talk about budget awareness, we can get into retaining teachers, retaining employees. All those are pieces of the puzzle of student achievement. That's what we're here for. And we've just got a tremendous amount of information, as people have said. I do not agree with Mr. Knaxted about the 4x4. To me, it's not proven to be academically sound. I do believe we can have some type of block schedule, but we have to be innovative. There are plenty of schools that are operating on block schedule and doing fantastic jobs and offering a 7-period day. I do believe that we need to increase our rigor. And I don't like what I hear tonight, which is silos. One school's doing this, one school's doing that, one other school's doing this. What I look upon our high schools right now as, with that 31% and 8% drop in 7 years in success, is that it is the high schools show you what the disease has become. And yes, I'll talk about 5th grade through 10th grade, but I had a lot of Elkhorn students blow out of my AP Bio class and barely graduate. So yeah, we got to hit them early. I get it, but not all of them are going to be gotten. My point in this is we've got to start at the cellular level, which is of course 5th grade, but we got to attack this systematically. Start at 10th grade, all the way down to 5th grade, and attack it like you would an invading army. Go after all of it. So what I would like to see is some course of action where we pick out 2 or 3 things. And what I've noticed tonight, over and over, the schedule, it is creating nothing but problems for us to advance. I noticed that our A through G, compared to other schools, is deplorable. And I noticed that one of the quickest ways, and I'm not mimicking what was just said, dual enrollment is an easy fix. It is a real easy fix for us to pick up on. So those are the 3 areas that I'll be looking at. And if we're going to start this off, we have to also include SPED. We have to have a robust SPED area. We have to make sure that these kids are getting out into the workforce. We have to have companies that will adopt our schools, adopt our special ed students at each school and bring them in so we can count on them for so many jobs every year. These are things that we need to do. I look at student achievement as the key or most important thing this board has to do. And since I've been on the board for 6 years and we've gone down 7 points, I've failed. And when we have, and I went back and told you before, when we have right now 43% of our students are not prepared at all. 43%, that's an F. And that's 43% of your population are not prepared for CCI. We need to take a hard look at what we're doing as a board, and the board needs to be more active. There is no reason why this board cannot create a new schedule for our high schools. Maybe not McNair, because they're on that block right now, but the other 3. Working with teachers, working with administrators, we could do that. There's no reason for our board not to get more involved in our A through G and dropping the non-CP classes, getting rid of it. I know it's a part of board policy. And the last part, of course, I brought up is dual enrollment. That is an easy fix. And we have people with masters that are ready to go. And we have counselors that are ready to do all of that. but we need from you people, the cabinet or whatever, your ideas so we can support them or vote for them. We also need the board to become more active. Because right now, as of tonight, I have an F on my back when I walk out of here. Because we're at 31% and we're at 43% not prepared. I haven't done my job. I'm one of the board members. I'm Area 4. I failed every person that voted for me. So we need to reflect and take accountability for what we're doing, all of us. I thank you for tonight. My 6 years of being on the board, this is the first time we've been open and transparent about what we do, how we're doing it, and how we need to share and create more communication. And I think we have the right people in place amongst our administrators, and I know that we have some of the best teachers that can create a lot of things at their schools for us. So thank you for tonight. Thank you for taking your time. I appreciate it so much. But as a board member, I have failed.
Okay, any other comment?
That's only a personal opinion, sir.
I have a quick comment.
Yes,
sir.
Dr.
Thank
Ball.
you so much. I think we all met for seeing how our kids are ready for college and career. That was kind of a highlight to me, and I really appreciate the time you all took. Thank you. What I take back today from what we talked about is, you talked about and we listened, is we need to have a better connect with how our kids can be ready for CSU and UC with the courses that we offer them. How we are going to make that connection. What requirements do we need to give them so they are ready? Not the disconnect we have currently. But the other thing I feel like we need to really work on is AVID. I think we should really focus on how to improve AVID in all schools and that and that. I do at the end of the day today pray for the professional enthusiasm you all have. And I appreciate every one of you for being here. Thank you.
I just wanted to thank you for the time. I know what goes into these, and I appreciate the time and effort and you being here. I think one of the things in my notes that I've been taking is getting that consistency throughout. As a middle school teacher and saying forever, why aren't we starting down here? And the elementary school teachers, I know, why aren't we starting here? And you hear fifth, finally, getting this cohesion, not having one campus doing one thing that's super cool and not everybody else when it seems like it would be an easy fix. I think there's some easy fixes here that could just change things immensely and get us all on the same page. So thank you for your time and effort. And I'm excited because now I've got all your names, and when these questions come up, I'm going to be firing off emails, and I hope that you do the same too.
They usually show up about 2 a.m. is when her questions come, just to prepare all of you. Don't be shocked.
Get my secret.
And I just want to make sure before we end this, I do think there needs to be some closure on what is significant. Looking at what Ms. Castle stated was we need a larger bus, and we need that. Dr. Castle, I do apologize. That we are all moving that bus in the same direction, that it's the people and it's the systems working together. So I want to make sure that we don't just close without some final asks of the board as we move from this study session, okay? So I just want to make sure before you do, is there anything else you wanted to share, Mr. Renex did?
I was just curious, we started this off as a symposium, so to speak. What did you and Dr. Horton get out of it in terms of solving what is the problem?
I mean, I do think it's a great explanation. When I think of Lodi Unified, I had a chance to work directly with Cindy as we worked together with Avid. I had a chance to be at an elementary site where we did Avid Elementary. I was a part of, with our after-school programs, that Ren and I worked together, and we were doing dual enrollment, or at least trying to develop that before the housing crisis happened. And when I think about all the different transmissions and alternators and wheels and components, they have been in places, as Sherry said, and you see them here and there, but what we haven't done is pulled the not to use a VAPA term, but all the different instruments together. And in some ways, it sounds like we need a conductor to put all these pieces together and have a comprehensive plan. I mean, in some ways, I think we're missing a college and career readiness department. It seems to me with a counselor on special assignment, working directly with CTE programs, making sure we've got a strong connection with Delta College so our students have pathways that are gonna look different than middle college. Middle college, people choose that program, and if they are accepted into it, they know what they're getting into. In the same way that if you were to go to an Aspire Ben Holt, you know what you're getting into when you go there. For the remaining students, because we've created a this or that system, it seems like we need to pull everything together and create this bus department. And so in some ways, to be blunt, I feel like we need a college and career department. We need a strong relationship with Delta College. We need to make sure that the work that is going on with our elementary counselors, middle school counselors, high school counselors, making sure that the electives that middle schools have align with what's going on at high schools, so we have that consistency of rigor, consistency of expectations. I'd love to poll our 5th and 6th grade teachers and our parents do they even know what they need to be thinking about, that it's not just middle school, it's high school. Do they understand the implications of a high school math class versus taking integrated 1? And having a department pulled together that is solely focused on this task seems like it's really important, but I've got to be honest, I tiptoe around anything that's going to include new department or people that are going to focus on that, because you could look at maybe a teacher on special assignment, but they work 185 days. This work needs to happen in the summertime too, so maybe we need someone coordinating that. Maybe we use some of the one-time money now while we still can, pull it together in such a way that it becomes the community's belief that this must be in our LCAP because this is, my children are benefiting from it. So I think that's kind of what I've taken away from every aspect of this, because what's going on with AP, yeah, why don't we have a mechanism that helps fund AP so Beth doesn't have to put on a costume and dress up to try to gain money. Our kids need access to it. And just because you're not low income doesn't mean you have a wealth of money to pay for it. And if kids don't go in with expectations and they think, I just want it for the weighted GPA, and that's a generalization, then we haven't created the pipeline to prepare kids. And so I think that's what I take away from it. I'm somewhat rambling to your question, but I feel like that's a key, because we've got to pull the different instruments together to put this into a concert. And so everyone's moving, I mean, I'm mixing my metaphors, but evidently the musicians are on the bus and they've got a transmission and now I got to pull it together. I don't know.
You have to do more admin, huh?
No, Courtney, it's a department that focuses, but I can't get around the fact that we need someone to coordinate those efforts.
All right, just giving you a little grief.
So if I were to bring something back to the board, that's probably what I would say we need to prioritize to pull this all together.
Well, I really think that the schedule is the #1 priority right now.
And that's a piece of it for sure.
I think so too.
And just real quick, I was happy to hear you say career, because what I've heard a lot of is test scores, college, AP rigor, which I'm all for. I have 3 kids that went to college, but there is a large population in our geographic area that will not step foot on a college campus. So I want to make sure that career tech is not getting lost.
That's part of CCI is career and college.
I understand what the acronym means, but what I heard a lot of was career was part of it, but it was a sideline.
I mean, we don't have apprenticeships.
No,
We don't have those connections to businesses. Kids may not discover they want to become a manager until later in life as that frontal lobe matures. So there's a lot of pathways, but they are all part of that. Jim?
Can I make a comment, maybe, or just a question? For the last couple of years, I've played with this idea that I would think the school district's probably the biggest employer in Lodi, maybe? Am I right or wrong? Especially for students at my site where we don't have we can be flexible with our schedule. I have kids that want to be mechanics, cooks, landscapers. When I went to the continuation conference a few years ago when we went to our model school, one of the things that they set up were internships. they weren't through the school district, but if we could set up possibly or explore the idea of an internship program run through the transportation department for our mechanic kids, or the culinary arts department, you know, where they could work through here 1 day a week for 8 hours a day for a semester and get 5 credits. That would be a pipeline, plus that's employees for you guys to hire in the next year, because they would already have that experience. My students, for example, don't have a network to go get a job. They all want to work, and it's really hard because they want to work and they can't get jobs, and they don't have experiences. So that was just something that I think would be an internship program of some sort. I don't know if legally we do it because of ages, but I just think it might be something worth looking into.
So Tim, I think it kind of speaks to this bigger picture, which is that is one of the parts of this bigger picture that we have to look at. And when we use the college and career indicator, it speaks to a lot of parts that we have heard from, and now we need to pull all those pieces together, because if we put that in a vacuum and do that alone without thinking about the implications for students in the bigger context of what Dave is bringing and the reason we brought this to the board, I think we've had great things that are going on here, there, and everywhere. What we haven't done is pulled it all together, and that seems to be what I'm hearing as I hear those parts, that we need to then take it to that next level. As Dr. Castle has pointed out, it's happening in other places. We don't need to make up something. We need to glean from what's already happening, but that's going to take true effort and everyone pulling in that same direction. So that would be my just to that.
I move we adjourn.
Second. All in favor?
Thank